Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga. Chapter 279. Two War Souls. Qin Feiyong's eyes shone brightly. This was truly a pleasant surprise. Clang. However, without waiting for everyone to calm down, another loud bang suddenly exploded in their hearts. It was as though a divine sword had been unsheathed. With Qin Feiyong as the center, rays of shocking sharpness spread out in all directions, covering the sky and the earth. Behind him, a fiery red sword soared into the air. The battle sword was more than 10 meters long. It was completely red as though it was cast from lava. Third War Soul. Qin Feiyong was stunned. The Mermaid Emperor and the others were stunned as well. The Holy Land fell into a deathly silence. This person had activated 3 War Souls? Was this a dream? That was right. This had to be a dream. This was because there had never been a person with 3 War Souls in the Great Qin Empire. However, when they rubbed their eyes and looked at Qin Feiyong again, their hearts were filled with shock and astonishment. The purple gold dragon's soul was like a true dragon. It danced above Qin Feiyong's head. Its might shook the world. The 9-leaf fire lotus hovered on his right. Waves of fire surged into the sky. It was as though he had transformed into a god of fire. The crimson sword soul hovered on Qin Feiyong's left. Its sword chi was like a rainbow that pierced through the air. This was not a dream. He really had 3 War Souls. Unbelievable. How did he do it? Was he still human? With these 3 War Souls, I won't have to worry about not being able to reach the imperial capital. I'll kill all my enemies. Qin Feiyong looked at the purple gold dragon soul, the 9-leaf fire lotus, and the crimson sword soul. He was filled with pride. With just a thought, the 3 fighting souls turned into a ray of light and entered his body, becoming one with his body. Meanwhile, the true Qi in his sea of Qi was quickly converted into battle Qi. There were 3 types in total. The first type was the purple gold dragon Qi. The second type was the fiery battle Qi. The third type was the crimson sword Qi. The attribute and color of battle Qi were closely related to the War Soul. For example, Yan Nanshan's War Soul was a firehawk. His battle Qi was fiery red. For example, Xueqi's battle soul was a black python, and his battle Qi was black in color. In short, the type of fighting soul that was activated would determine the type of battle Qi that would appear. Furthermore, every fighting soul had its own gifted superpower. The difference was in strength and weakness. For example, Wolf King's fighting soul had the innate ability to rob other living beings of their fighting souls. The stronger the power of the divine ability, the higher the level of the fighting soul. The purple gold divine light on the emperor's statue gradually dissipated. This also meant that the inheritance had ended. Qin Feiyong also slowly landed on the ground. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and turned to look at the face of the statue. Ancestor, thank you for granting me the purple gold dragon soul. He bowed to the statue 3 more times. The purple gold divine light on the statue dissipated completely, and the seawater surged in from all directions. Qin Feiyong hastily activated the water avoidance pearl and the cold avoidance pearl. Then he stood up, his eyes shining brightly. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. As long as he stepped into the Battle King realm, not only would he be able to open the 2nd page of the elixir scripture, but he would also be able to refine higher-level elixirs. Most importantly, he would be able to continue cultivating the 6-word divine formula. The power of the return word divine formula was already so amazing. The 2nd divine formula would definitely be even more powerful. At this moment, with the help of the Mermaid Princess, the Mermaid Emperor came to Qin Feiyong. He cupped his hands and smiled. May I know your name? Senior, you are too polite. My name is Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong smiled. Your surname is Qin. He has also received the recognition of the first emperor and has awakened the purple gold dragon soul. Could he be a descendant of the first emperor? The Mermaid Emperor secretly pondered and was quite shocked. He smiled and said, Brother Qin, can you do me the honor of going to the palace for a chat? That's what I was thinking. Qin Feiyong also had a lot of doubts in his heart. The Mermaid Emperor smiled. Suddenly, he frowned and turned to look at the white-winged emperor and the black-winged emperor. He said with a sullen face, This Brother Qin is the descendant of the first emperor. No one is allowed to hurt him. In addition, no one is allowed to disturb me while I am talking with Brother Qin. He added, Humph. The two snorted coldly, flapped their wings, and broke through the waves with a gloomy look in their eyes. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two and raised his head to look at the 3 stone statues behind the statue of the first emperor. The 3 stone statues all had fishtails and wings. But the difference was, the stone statue in the middle had a fishtail and wings that were golden. The stone statues on the left and right had a fishtail and wings that were white and black. And they all had a total of 5 pairs of wings. Strange. Qin Feiyang was puzzled. They are all ancestors of the mermaid clan. The mermaid emperor explained. The statue in the middle was the first mermaid emperor. The statue on the left was the first black-winged emperor. The statue on the right was the first white-winged emperor. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and asked suspiciously, "The first mermaid emperor has golden wings. Why don't you and the princess have them?" "I am ashamed to say this. Although I am the emperor of the mermaid clan, I have not received the inheritance of the ancestors. Only those who are recognized by the ancestors can grow golden wings. As for my daughter, she is only an 8-star martial arts grandmaster now and has not received the inheritance. I hope she can succeed." The mermaid emperor sighed. "Father, I will definitely succeed." The mermaid princess looked at the statue of the first mermaid emperor with a determined look in her beautiful eyes. At this moment, a black light suddenly flashed out from the eyes of the statue of the first black-winged emperor, and landed on one of the dozen or so mermaids who were praying below. A magical scene suddenly appeared. That person screamed in pain. The clothes and skin on his back split open, and 2 black wings grew out from both sides. At the same time, a black shadow appeared behind him. It was that person's fighting soul. And it was also a humanoid fighting soul. It was exactly the same as the fighting souls of the other black-winged guards. I see. Qin Feiyang finally understood. This humanoid fighting soul came from the 3 statues. The mermaid emperor smiled and said, "This is the inheritance of the mermaid clan. Every mermaid's fighting soul is the shadow of the 3 great ancestors." Qin Feiyang asked, "You did not receive the inheritance. Does that mean you do not have a fighting soul?" "Yes, this is the reason why the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor have always been dissatisfied with me." The mermaid emperor sighed deeply. In that case, if the princess can receive the inheritance, grow golden wings, and activate the fighting soul, will the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor dispel the thoughts in their hearts and fully support her? Qin Feiyang asked. Logically speaking, that is indeed the case. Because mermaids with golden fishtails have the purest bloodline power, and there will not be one in hundreds of years. According to the rules of the mermaid clan, as long as a mermaid with a golden fishtail is born, she is destined to be the next mermaid emperor. But people's hearts are unpredictable. No one knows the true thoughts of the black-winged emperor and the white-winged emperor. The mermaid emperor shook his head and sighed. He glanced at the 30-odd white-winged guards and said, "There are too many people here. Let's go somewhere else to talk. Please follow me." Qin Feiyang nodded. It seemed that the father and daughter were in a very bad situation in Undersea City. The mermaid emperor did not stop along the way and returned directly to his palace. After closing the door, the mermaid emperor ordered the mermaid princess to prepare a seat for Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "No need. Let's talk business." "Business?" The mermaid emperor was stunned. The mermaid princess said, "Father, you may not know, but Qin Feiyang is also a top-grade alchemist. I am begging him to help me refine a prolongation pill." A top-grade alchemist. The mermaid emperor was shocked and cupped his hands. "May I ask, little brother, how old are you now?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Almost 17. Almost 17? In other words, he was only 16 years old now? Stepping into the battle monarch realm at the age of 16? And 3 war souls? And a top-grade alchemist? This was too shocking. The mermaid princess also opened her red lips slightly and looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. She originally thought that the man in front of her was at least 20 or 30 years old, but he had a young face and did not look old. But she never expected that he was really a 16-year-old boy. She also did not expect that the human boy she casually brought would be a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Looking at the exaggerated expressions of the father and daughter, Qin Feiyang could not help but smile helplessly. It seemed that he had to keep a low profile in the future. Ahem. He coughed dryly and avoided the topic of the prolongation pill. He wondered, why is the statue of the first emperor here? The mermaid emperor came back to his senses, pondered for a moment, and said, "Before answering this question, I want to ask, are you a descendant of the first emperor?" "No." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Impossible." The mermaid emperor said flatly. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Did he have any proof to make such an assertion? The mermaid emperor said, "Just now in the sacred ground, I said that only one kind of person can gain the recognition of the first emperor and obtain his inheritance." The mermaid princess and Qin Feiyong nodded. This person must have compassion for the common people and a heart that embraces the world. At the same time, he must have the bloodline power of the first emperor. The mermaid emperor said, "There is such a thing?" Qin Feiyong frowned. "So, his identity could not be hidden anymore? Brother Qin, you don't have to be so vigilant. Because the ancestors of the mermaid clan had a very deep relationship with the first emperor. Otherwise, the first emperor would not have left a statue here. Moreover, the reason why the mermaid clan can survive until today and have this piece of land in the great Qin Empire is also because of the first emperor's kindness." The mermaid emperor said with a smile. There was obvious gratitude on his face. Qin Feiyong said calmly, "Since the first emperor is kind to you, why do you still have thoughts of rebellion?" Thoughts of rebellion? The father and daughter were stunned. "Brother Qin, what do you mean? When have we ever had thoughts of rebellion?" "You can't say such things," the mermaid emperor said anxiously. There was panic in his eyes. Qin Feiyong frowned. "I remember that the two black-winged guards who sent me to prison said such a thing. They said that it is a great shame that the great Qin Empire is ruled by people like us." "They dared to say such things without restraint, and you still dare to say that you have no thoughts of rebellion?" Qin Feiyong shouted. "This is a great injustice." The mermaid emperor lamented. The mermaid princess was also a little anxious. If this misunderstanding was not resolved, Qin Feiyong would not refine the prolongation pill for her father. Chapter 280. The atmosphere in the hall was extremely heavy. The mermaid princess looked at her father and then at Qin Feiyong. "I can guarantee with my life that my father has no intention of rebelling." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "I only believe what I hear." The mermaid princess gritted her teeth. "Fine, I'll tell you the truth. It's not my father who wants to rebel. It's the black-winged monarch and the white-winged monarch." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. "They don't want to stay in the ocean of despair and want to fight for a place on land, but they've been suppressed by my father. If they take the throne, they'll definitely take action." The mermaid princess said. "They're digging their own graves." Qin Feiyong sneered. With the power of the great Qin Empire, destroying the mermaid race was as easy as blowing off dust. Of course, we know that we don't have the strength to challenge the great Qin Empire. That's why my father is determined not to pass the throne to them. The mermaid princess sighed. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and then asked the mermaid emperor, "You're not weak. Why don't you just kill them?" "I can't kill them. If I kill them, all the black-winged monarchs and white-winged monarchs will rebel. At that time, my mermaid clan will inevitably fall into the suffering of war. Plus, their strength is about the same as mine. Now that I'm about to die, I can't beat them." The mermaid emperor shook his head. Qin Feiyong frowned. "If that's the case, why don't they just kill you and take the throne?" "They have their own concerns. The mermaid emperor has always been a golden mermaid. This is the rule left by our ancestors. If they take the throne, first, it's against our ancestors' rules. Second, the other mermaids won't recognize them. Unless I announce to the world, admit it with my own mouth, and give the throne to them. This is why they don't dare to kill me and my father." The mermaid emperor said. Qin Feiyong understood. This was the misfortune of the royal family. If he was just an ordinary person, why would he have so much trouble and so many worries? Qin Feiyong asked, "You just said that the first emperor was kind to your mermaid race. What's going on?" The mermaid emperor said, "Unless you are a descendant of the first emperor, I will not answer you." Qin Feiyong glanced at the father and daughter. After hesitating for a while, he nodded and said, "Okay, I admit that I am indeed the son of the current emperor." The mermaid emperor shuddered and bowed. "Greetings, Your Highness." He had no doubts. That was because he had obtained the heritage of the first monarch and awakened the purple gold dragon soul. The mermaid princess at the side was astonished. The person she brought back was actually a prince of the Grand Qin Empire? Meanwhile, inside the castle, Fatso and Lu Hong were also shocked. They knew that Qin Feiyong had a powerful background, but they did not expect him to be so powerful. No wonder Qin Feiyong knew everything. No wonder he had mastered so many perfect martial skills. It turned out that he was the son of an emperor. The two of them could not help but look at Wolf King. They saw that Wolf King was lying on the side, not affected in the slightest, quietly taking a nap. This guy had long known Qin Feiyong's true identity. Jia. Fatso suddenly laughed strangely and said, Lu Hong, Fat Lord is right. Following the boss, you will have a bright future. Lu Hong nodded. There was no doubt about that. Moreover, even if Qin Feiyong was not the son of an emperor, with his monstrous talent, his future was limitless. Inside the palace. Seeing that the mermaid princess was still in a daze, the mermaid emperor hurriedly said, Daughter, what are you waiting for? Quickly bow to his highness. Forget it. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and shook his head. I'm just a prince in dire straits. There's no need to be so polite. He said it so casually. He was even a little conflicted about this identity. The mermaid emperor could not help but have a trace of doubt in his heart. But he did not ask much. As long as he knew that this child was the descendant of the first emperor, it was enough. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and said, I hope you can help me keep my identity a secret. A secret? Your Highness, don't worry. The mermaid clan is isolated from the world. For 10,000 years, we have never appeared in front of anyone. In addition, we live under the sea. Even the current emperor, your father, does not know of our existence. We will definitely keep your secret. The mermaid emperor was stunned at first, then said solemnly. Qin Feiyong believed this. Because in the historical records of the imperial palace, there was almost no information about the mermaid clan. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, In that case, tell me about the situation of the first emperor. He had always worshipped this ancestor and wanted to know more about his past deeds. This matter dates back to 10,000 years ago. The mermaid emperor told him everything in detail. It turned out that, when the first emperor founded the Great Qin Empire, the mermaid clan had already existed, and their overall strength was very strong. At that time, the mermaid clan also wanted to rule this territory, which posed a great threat to the first emperor. But the first emperor, whether in strength or strategy, was almost unmatched. In just a few years, he swept the mermaid clan. Originally, the mermaid clan thought that the first emperor would kill them all, but they did not expect that in the end. They were merciful and were able to preserve their bloodline and survive. Moreover, the first emperor also erased that part of history. This was also the reason why there were no relevant records of the mermaid clan in the historical records of the underground palace. And the first mermaid emperor, the black-winged king, and the white-winged king, in order to thank the first emperor for not killing them, after settling their clansmen, they left with the first emperor. After Qin Feiyong heard this, he also felt that it was very incredible. If he had not accidentally come to the mermaid clan, he was afraid that he would not know this history for the rest of his life. Qin Feiyong said, Then do you know where the first emperor and the others went? No one knows. The mermaid emperor shook his head. It was said that, according to the ancient records of the mermaid clan, that year, the first emperor and all his subordinates, including the 3 ancestors of the mermaid clan, all disappeared overnight. It was as if they had disappeared from the world, leaving behind an eternal mystery. It's getting more and more mysterious, Qin Feiyong murmured. After a moment of pondering, he shook his head hard. These things were not something he was qualified to ponder. Back to the topic, how many days do you have left to live? Qin Feiyong asked. At most half a year. The mermaid emperor said. Half a year, time is tight. Qin Feiyong sighed and said with a faint smile. You guys wait for a while. I'll go and see if there are any elixir recipes for the prolongation pill. As soon as his voice fell, Qin Feiyong disappeared into thin air. The mermaid emperor glanced at the void in front of him in surprise. This person is not simple. I can even see the shadow of the first emperor in him. Daughter, what you heard today, you must rot in your stomach, understand? After a long time, the mermaid emperor let out a long breath and looked at the mermaid princess with a serious expression. Your daughter understands. The mermaid princess nodded, her eyes flashing with an inexplicable light. In the castle. Boss, you are too unjust. You didn't even tell us about such an awesome identity. If you had told us earlier, Fat Lord could have shown off. As soon as Qin Feiyong came in, Fatso stared at him bitterly. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him, looked at Lu Hong, and said in a deep voice, I was afraid that you guys would go out and talk nonsense, so I didn't tell you. Although you all know now, you must not spread it. Why? You are the son of an emperor. Who dares to offend you? Fatso frowned. Some things the later you know the better. Qin Feiyong said, turned around, walked to the altar, opened the cover of the pill scripture, and then flipped to the first page. The contents of the second page immediately appeared. The first thing that came into sight was the Battle Chi pill. Qin Feiyong immediately came forward and looked carefully. Regeneration pill, transformation pill, heart protection pill, life-seizing pill, 4 symbols pill, and so on. They were all familiar names. Wolf King also immediately became spirited. He ran to Qin Feiyong and asked, Is there a transformation pill and a bottleneck-breaking pill? There is a transformation pill, but I haven't seen a bottleneck-breaking pill. After Qin Feiyong said that, he continued to look down. His eyes suddenly locked on a certain spot, smiled and nodded. There is a bottleneck-breaking pill. Wolf King immediately howled excitedly and roared, Fatso, hurry up and see if there are any medicinal materials for the transformation pill and bottleneck-breaking pill. Why are you in such a hurry? Can't you see that the boss is still looking? Fatso rolled his eyes. Found it. Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. What did you find? The two men and the wolf looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, Life-prolonging pill. According to the prescription, the best quality life-prolonging pill can prolong one's life by 200 years. If it is a divine pill with dragon-shaped pill chi, one pill can prolong one's life by 10,000 years. Really? The two men and the wolf leaned over and looked in the direction Qin Feiyong was pointing. Their eyes suddenly burst out with brilliant light. This pill with dragon-shaped pill chi is too amazing, isn't it? Wolf King asked, Little Qin Zi, how can we refine a pill with dragon-shaped pill chi? Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, There is no record in the pill scripture. It may be in the last few pages, but it must have something to do with alchemy, fire and spiritual force. Then I guess we will never be able to refine a dragon-shaped pill chi in our lives. The fatty's face was filled with disappointment. Because the level of spiritual force was innate and could not be improved like cultivation. For example, Lu Hong's spiritual force was at the 5th level, so it would always be at the 5th level. Don't be discouraged. Nothing is certain. Lu Hong, prepare the brush and ink. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. The path of cultivation was endless. There was no way now, but it did not mean there would be no way in the future. Maybe there was a way to improve the strength of spiritual force, but they did not know it. After Lu Hong prepared the brush and ink, Qin Feiyong wrote down the medicinal materials for the life-prolonging pill one by one. Then, he put down the brush and walked to the iron box. What will the second magic art be? Looking at the iron box in front of him, Qin Feiyong's eyes were full of expectation. He bit his finger and a drop of blood fell on the iron box. Clang! After the iron box was opened, Qin Feiyong directly turned to the second page. Fight! An eye-catching word suddenly came into sight. It was as majestic as Iron Hook and Silver Stroke. And Chapter 281. As the battle intent surged, the 3 men and 1 wolf all retreated under their instincts. Their bodies and minds were trembling. This battle intent was too strong, enough to shock anyone's heart. Without a doubt. The second divine art was the battle word art. Qin Feiyong swallowed his saliva, walked to the front of the iron box, looked at the word battle, and then looked at the small words below. The stronger the opponent, the braver the more he fought. This was the profound meaning of the battle word art. Moreover, once the battle word art was activated, no matter how serious the injuries were, he would be able to recover in an instant. In a protracted battle, he had the absolute advantage. As expected of a divine art, Qin Feiyong could not help but become excited. One had to know. In a bloody battle, the scariest thing was to be seriously injured. Because even the highest grade healing pill could not instantly heal the injury. However, as long as he had the battle word art, he could completely catch his opponent off guard. The most important thing was that the battle word art did not have any side effects. Qin Feiyong knew that once used, he would fall into a weakened state for a period of time. Anyone with a little bit of ability could easily deal with it. But the battle word art would not. However, the next headache was that copying the battle word art would definitely be the same as copying the return word art, delaying the speed of cultivation. Sure enough, it was impossible to have the best of both worlds. Whew! Qin Feiyong took a deep breath, closed the 6-word art, grabbed the list of medicinal ingredients for the prolonging life pill, and prepared to leave the castle. Fatso said, "Boss, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What?" Qin Feiyong turned to look at him in confusion. Fatso hesitated for a moment, then said, "Can you wait for Lu Hong and I to break through the War King before leaving?" "Why?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. Fatso laughed awkwardly. "Although we all know that only you can obtain the inheritance of the first-generation emperor, we still want to bask in your glory and see if we can get any benefits." Qin Feiyong could not help but laugh. "Is that okay?" Fatso asked. Qin Feiyong said, "If I remember correctly, you are only a 5-star martial ancestor, and Lu Hong is only a 6-star martial ancestor. When you break through to the 9-star martial ancestor," Fatso hurriedly said, "don't worry. If we haven't broken through to the 9-star martial ancestor realm within a year, we'll leave immediately." 1 year. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and nodded. "All right, I'll give you 1 year." "Thank you." Fatso and Fatso looked at him gratefully. "Work hard on your cultivation." Qin Feiyong smiled and left the castle. A year's time was neither short nor long. He could afford to wait. Furthermore, as long as he could prolong the life of the Mermaid Emperor, it would be easy for him to leave the Sea of Despair with the help of the Mermaid clan. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry to leave. Just nice. He could also take the opportunity to focus on copying the battle symbol formula. Inside the palace, the Mermaid Emperor was relatively calm. Perhaps when his time was up, he was more open-minded about everything. But when the Mermaid Princess saw that Qin Feiyong hadn't come out for a long time, she was like an ant on a hot pan, anxious and uneasy. The moment Qin Feiyong came out, she came in front of Qin Feiyong and asked, "How is it? Do you have the pill formula?" "I have the pill formula. But you have to find the herbs yourself. Also, I have a rule. I will never refine pills for free. This is the list. Take a look." Qin Feiyong said and handed the list over. The Mermaid Princess hurriedly took the list and looked at it carefully. The Mermaid Emperor also looked down. A moment later, the Mermaid Emperor looked up at Qin Feiyong and shook his head. "We don't have any of these herbs." "None?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Look at my head." He slapped his forehead in annoyance. The herbs for the life-prolonging pill could only survive on land. And this was the bottom of the deep sea, and the water was so cold. How could there be any? "Wait a little longer," Qin Feiyong said and entered the castle again, handing the list to Fatso. "Look for it and see if there are any herbs for the life-prolonging pill." Fatso immediately took out his Chenkuan bag and searched. Bang! Suddenly, a loud sound came from outside the castle. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Outside, the Black Wing King and the White Wing King rushed into the hall side by side. The Mermaid Princess frowned. "What do you want now? Can you let us have a few days of peace?" The Black Wing King sneered. "If you want peace, it's very simple. Immediately announce to the world that you will abdicate the throne to us." The White Wing King said, "That's right. As long as you give up the throne, we will never disturb you again." "What?" The father and daughter's expressions changed. The Mermaid Emperor said angrily, "Are you forcing me to abdicate?" The Black Wing King said, "Not forcing but abdicating." The Mermaid Emperor said in a deep voice, "Don't even think about it. Even if I die, I will not announce it to the world." Swish! The wings on the White Wing King's back spread and he instantly landed in front of the Mermaid Princess. His large hand reached out and grabbed her neck. "What are you doing? Let go." The Mermaid Emperor was anxious. Who would have thought that the two of them had already lost their minds to this extent? The White Wing King said coldly, "If you don't do as we say, I will kill her." The Mermaid Princess hurriedly said, "Father, you can't agree to it." "Shut up." The White Wing King's 5 fingers tightened, and the Mermaid Princess immediately entered a suffocating state. However, she did not struggle, Nor did she beg for mercy. She only looked at the White Wing King coldly. If not for the fact that she is still useful, I really want to kill this little bastard immediately. The mermaid princess's gaze made the White Wing King very uncomfortable. There was a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. The Black Wing King walked to the White Wing King's side and looked at the Mermaid Emperor. Emperor, your daughter and the throne, you choose for yourself. The Mermaid Emperor clenched his fists and closed his eyes. His old face was filled with pain. Daughter, I'm sorry. Father cannot give the throne to them. I can only sacrifice you. He muttered in his heart. He opened his eyes and looked at the two. He shook his head and said, even if you kill her, I will not give the throne to you. You old bastard, you're about to die, and you're still occupying the throne. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you and your daughter? The White Wing King's face was ferocious and full of hostility. Kill us if you can. The Mermaid Emperor coldly glanced at the two. The White Wing King laughed sinisterly. Okay, I will kill your daughter first and then slowly torture you. Wait. The Black Wing King stopped him. He looked at the mermaid princess's beautiful face and laughed sinisterly. It's a pity to kill such a beautiful woman. Why don't we give her to our subordinates? The Mermaid Emperor's old body trembled. The White Wing King's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, good idea. Our subordinates have been eyeing this princess for a long time. She is still your niece. How can you be so heartless and do such a thing to her? The Mermaid Emperor roared, his entire body trembling. The Black Wing King shrugged and said indifferently, we have no choice. You forced us to do this. Don't blame us for being cruel. Stubborn. If that's the case, I will kill you today even if I have to sacrifice my life. The Mermaid Emperor's turbid eyes shone with a dazzling light. At the same time, a terrifying aura spread out from his body. At this moment, his back was straight and his eyes were sharp. He was like a lion that was about to awaken. The Black Wing King and the White Wing King instinctively took a few steps back. Don't you want your daughter's life? If you dare to kill us, our subordinates will let you know what madness is. The two of them said sinisterly. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the mermaid clan will be exterminated sooner or later in your hands. I might as well kill them myself. As soon as the Mermaid Emperor finished speaking, his aura exploded. The entire undersea city trembled at this moment. The White Wing King laughed coldly. Black Wing King, go and play with him. That's what I was thinking. Old thing, I have never faced you head-on. I want to see if you are stronger or if I am stronger. The Black Wing King's body trembled. An aura that was not inferior to the Mermaid Emperor's roared out. Black Wing King, there is only one throne. Be careful not to be used by the White Wing King. When you and my father are both injured, I'm afraid the first person he will eliminate will be you. The mermaid princess caught her breath and hurriedly shouted. Little niece, you are really smart. But unfortunately, your attempt to sow discord is useless. Because I have already discussed with the Black Wing King to jointly control the fate of the mermaid clan. The White Wing King sneered. What? The mermaid princess's face turned pale. At this moment, the Mermaid Emperor and the Black Wing King finally clashed. Boom! The palace instantly split into 4 or 5 pieces. The two leaped up, carrying dazzling battle auras, and charged toward the top of Undersea City. Because they did not want to destroy Undersea City. What's going on? Why is the Emperor fighting with the Black Wing King? Those mermaids who did not know the truth suddenly became restless. But the Black Wing Guards and White Wing Guards in various places were very clear in their hearts. It seemed that they had completely fallen out. These two are really too much. In the ancient castle, Lu Hong's face was cold. Even if they wanted to deal with the Mermaid Emperor, they should not use such a despicable method. Little Qin, at the very least, you've seen her naked. It's too irresponsible of you to just sit back and watch. Wolf King snickered. A row of black lines appeared on Qin Feiyong's forehead. But now, he was not in the mood to bicker with Wolf King. He looked at Fatso and said, Have you found the medicinal herbs? Don't rush me. Fatso waved his hand impatiently. Finding medicinal herbs was a very complicated and time-consuming task. Qin Feiyong said, Lu Hong, go and help. Lu Hong immediately squatted on the ground and helped to search. Fatso snickered and said, Boss, Why don't you go out first and think of a way to save the mermaid sister-in-law from the White Wing King? Qin Feiyong's veins were bulging. If it weren't for the fact that Fatso was sweating profusely, he really wanted to kick him. And at this time, he obviously couldn't appear. Because as long as he appeared, he would definitely be entangled by the White Wing King. One had to know. The White Wing King had always wanted to kill him. Besides, he couldn't help much if he went out. The only thing that could change the situation now was the prolongation pill. Chapter 282. Above the Undersea City. The battle between the Mermaid Emperor and the Blackwing Monarch had reached its climax. The seawater around them churned wildly. The Blackwing Monarch summoned his war soul. It was also a humanoid war soul. But it was dozens of times larger than the Blackwing Monarch's war soul. It was like a mountain above his head. "Go to hell, you old man," the Blackwing Monarch roared, and the war soul charged toward the Mermaid Emperor like a grim reaper. Humph! The Mermaid Emperor snorted, placed his hands in front of his chest, and quickly formed a seal. "Neptune seal, kill!" With a low roar, a golden seal rushed out of his hands and collided with the humanoid war soul. Boom! Both of them were destroyed. The Blackwing Monarch flew out, his face pale. But the Mermaid Emperor kept spitting out blood as he flew. "The heavens are unfair. We are all mermaids, but why are you golden-tailed mermaids born to be the successor of the Mermaid Emperor? And we, the Blackwing Mermaids and the Whitewing Mermaids, have to obey your orders." The Blackwing Monarch roared. "Because our bloodline is purer than yours, and because we remember the ancestral teachings and follow them." The Mermaid Emperor steadied his old body and shouted each word clearly and forcefully. "What a ridiculous ancestral teachings! Mermaid Emperor, if you were at your peak, I would not be afraid of you. But now, you are on the verge of death. Today is the day you die." The Blackwing Monarch roared and summoned his war soul again. Together with the war soul, they charged toward the Mermaid Emperor. "Even if my time is up, I am not someone you can disobey." The Mermaid Emperor was full of fighting spirit. Although he was at a disadvantage, he was not afraid at all. He brazenly fought with the Blackwing Monarch. "Father," the Mermaid Princess stared at the old man, her face full of worry. "Stop looking. Since we've already shed all pretense of cordiality, today will definitely be his doomsday." The White-Wing Monarch sneered. The Mermaid Princess said sternly, "The mermaid race will be destroyed by your hands sooner or later. You don't have to worry about that. By the way, where is that Qin Feiyong? My subordinates saw him enter the main hall with their own eyes. Why didn't I see him?" The White-Winged King's eyes flashed with killing intent. The Mermaid Princess said, "I advise you not to touch him, because he is not someone you can afford to offend." "Haha, can't afford to offend him? What a joke. When I find him, I'll kill him first." The White-Winged King laughed maniacally, his face full of contempt. Inside the castle. "Boss, it's all here." A total of 5 portions. Fatso put the sorted herbs into an empty Chenkuan bag and handed it to Qin Feiyong. Lu Hong also stood up and shook her head. "I didn't expect that the medicinal ingredients for the life extension pill would be even rarer than the medicinal ingredients for the potential pill." "Of course. Life is priceless." Qin Feiyong smiled, grabbed the Chenkuan bag, walked to the pill scripture, and read the refining method of the life extension pill in detail. After memorizing one by one, Qin Feiyong walked to the pill furnace, controlled the netherworld devil flame, and refined the spiritual liquid. It was his first time refining the life extension pill, so he was especially careful in every step. Especially the control of the fire, he couldn't be careless at all. Now he couldn't fail. Because with the Mermaid Emperor's current state, he couldn't last long. Every minute and second was consuming his life. The pitch-black flames burned fiercely. Inside the pill furnace, it was crimson red. The temperature kept rising. The first medicinal ingredient required 20% of the fire. The second and third medicinal ingredients required 30% of the fire. Qin Feiyong gradually discovered that as the level of the pill increased, the speed of refining the spiritual liquid became slower. It seemed that he had to start looking for a higher-level pill fire and pill furnace. Otherwise, the efficiency of refining pills in the future would be greatly reduced. The fourth, fifth, and sixth medicinal ingredients required 50% of the fire. Until the last medicinal ingredient, it actually required 90% of the fire. Throughout the entire process, Qin Feiyong was also sweating profusely and his clothes were soaked in sweat. The next step was the fusion of the spiritual liquid. He absolutely could not fail at this step. He was very careful, even more so than when refining the potential pill. Crack. However, it was because he was too careful that he was a little nervous. When all the spiritual liquids were fused together, he lost control and a crack suddenly appeared in the pill furnace. Oh no! Qin Feiyong's expression changed drastically. This was the sign of a furnace explosion. If the furnace really exploded, it would be more than a failure. This was because he didn't have an extra pill furnace. If it really exploded, there was no way to continue refining. And the crisis of the mermaid clan naturally couldn't be resolved. I must not explode. He tried hard to calm himself down. Relying on his powerful mental strength and experience, he was finally able to control the situation. The pill furnace didn't explode. But the crack was growing rapidly. Before he could heave a sigh of relief, he controlled a piece of mental strength and poured it into a jade bottle on the altar, rolling out a drop of solidifying liquid. Crack. At this time, a second crack appeared on the pill furnace. On the side, Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King stared at the two cracks, their pupils constricting together. Their bodies were also sweating profusely. They were even more nervous than Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and slowly merged the solidifying liquid into the spiritual liquid. The spiritual liquid suddenly shone brightly and quickly solidified. The pill furnace also seemed to have reached its limit. The third and fourth cracks appeared one after another. The ear-piercing clanging sound reverberated within the ancient castle, affecting the minds of everyone present. Hurry up, hurry up! Everyone roared in their hearts. The pill was about to take shape. If the furnace exploded now, it would be even more tragic. Clang! Suddenly, accompanied by a deafening noise, the pill furnace suddenly exploded. At the same time, a dark green divine light swept out from the pill furnace. Qin Feiyong grabbed it in his hand. Following closely, the fragments of the exploding pill furnace sent him flying. Lu Hong, Fatso, and Wolf King were not spared. The sharp shards cut through their skin, and some even entered their bodies. Bang! 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 The three people and one wolf hit the wall behind them almost at the same time, and they all spat out a mouthful of blood. Qin Feiyong hurriedly checked his injuries and found that his heart and sea of qi were not hurt, so he quickly got up. Regardless of whether the pill in his hand was destroyed or not, he turned to Wolf King and the others and shouted, "Are you all okay? I won't die. It's not a big deal." Wolf King and Lu Hong got up one after another and shook their heads at him. Fatso was lying on the ground, motionless. Blood was gushing out of his chest. His eyes were like a dead man's. His pupils were dilated and empty. Qin Feiyong's expression changed. Could it be that his heart was hurt? He hurriedly squatted beside Fatso and shouted, "Fatso, wake up. If you're not dead, make a sound. His chest is bleeding." Lu Hong grabbed Fatso's clothes and tore them apart. Immediately, she saw a fragment inserted into Fatso's flesh. It's over. Fatso must be dead. This bastard, when he was alive, he made me hate him, and when he died, he made me sad. Wolf King cursed angrily, his eyes a little wet. Why is it like this? Qin Feiyong's face was full of disbelief. Although Fatso was wretched and shameless, he was loyal to him and very loyal. He never thought that he would kill Fatso with his own hands. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have refined pills in the castle. His heart was full of self-blame. Lu Hong's eyes were also red, tears welling up in her eyes. Cough, cough. But suddenly, Fatso coughed. His empty eyes quickly regained their color. When he saw Qin Feiyong and the others, he couldn't help but be stunned and asked, "What are you doing?" "Damn it, you're not dead. Bastard, you actually pretended to be dead and lied to us. Are you looking for a beating?" The two men and the wolf were furious on the spot. Pretended to be dead? Fatty was stunned for a moment before he abruptly stood up like a carp. He glared at the two men and the wolf, pointed to the position of his heart, and roared, "Are you all blind? If it weren't for Fat Lord's meat, this fragment would have already killed Fat Lord. And you said that Fat Lord pretended to be dead? Do you have a conscience?" Fatso roared with righteous indignation, the flesh all over his body trembling. Meat. Qin Feiyong, Lu Hong, and Wolf King looked at each other. Fatso's body of fat was still useful. At least for now. He was able to keep his life. Okay, it's our fault. Please calm down. Qin Feiyang smiled at Fatso and said to Lu Hong, help him deal with it. Okay. Lu Hong nodded, turned her head and rolled her eyes at Fatso, and said, bear with it. Then she reached out and pulled out the fragment. It hurts, be gentle. Can't you see that Fat Lord is injured? Fatso howled miserably. If you say any more nonsense, I won't help you. Lu Hong furrowed her brows. Okay, Fat Lord, bear with it. That's not right. Why are your eyes all wet? Are you sad for Fat Lord? It seems that you still have a little conscience. Fatso laughed proudly, even forgetting the pain. The best. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly, opened his hand, and a pellet-sized elixir appeared in his sight. The elixir was dark green, with a strong aura of life. A circle of elixir patterns surrounded the elixir, emitting a dazzling light. Seeing the elixir patterns, Qin Feiyang breathed a long sigh of relief. Although the furnace exploded, although Fatso almost lost his life, the prolongation elixir was not destroyed. However, finding a new elixir furnace was now the most urgent task. After dealing with it, you guys hurry up and cultivate. Qin Feiyang warned. Then, he activated the water avoidance pearl and cold avoidance pearl and left the ancient castle. The palace is destroyed? As soon as he appeared, seeing the palace that had been turned into ruins, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be stunned. At the same time, powerful ripples of battle could be felt coming from above. He looked up, and his expression suddenly changed. The Mermaid Emperor was completely suppressed by the black-winged guard. Not only was his golden fishtail shattered, but his entire right arm was gone. Blood was gushing out, dyeing the seawater red. His upper body was also covered in wounds. Fortunately, the prolongation elixir didn't fail. Qin Feiyang muttered. Facing the young and vigorous black-winged king, the Mermaid Emperor had no chance of winning. Qin Feiyang, be careful. Suddenly, the Mermaid Princess exclaimed. Little bastard, come, let me see the strength of someone with a purple gold dragon soul. The white-winged king's bone-chilling voice followed. What's your cultivation level? And what's my cultivation level? You have the nerve to say that? Can you be any more shameless? Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at the white-winged king and directly scolded him to his face. This old man deserved a scolding. Chapter 283. Boom. Before his voice died away, the white-winged king roared out a terrifying aura that rolled toward Qin Feiyang. This aura is even stronger than Yan Nanshan's. Qin Feiyang was secretly shocked. Could this person be a 9-star combat emperor? When he was enveloped by the aura, he felt as if he was being pressed down by a giant mountain. His legs trembled violently and he found it difficult to breathe. Kneel down before me. The white-winged king roared. Don't even think about it. Qin Feiyang screamed and broke free from the restraints of the aura. He roared, Mermaid Emperor, come down quickly. The white-winged king and the black-winged king were stunned. There was a trace of suspicion in their eyes. However, the Mermaid Princess and the Mermaid Emperor were pleasantly surprised. He must have refined the prolongation pill. Boom! The Mermaid Emperor's aura was like a rainbow. He went all out and crazily attacked the black-winged king. After a few breaths, he pushed the black-winged guard back with one palm and did not continue fighting. He rushed toward Qin Feiyang like lightning. White-winged king, quickly kill that little bastard. The black-winged king steadied his body and chased after the Mermaid Emperor while shouting at the white-winged king. He had a premonition that something would happen next. Moreover, it was related to that human youth. The white-winged king glanced at the Mermaid Emperor. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he pointed his index finger in the air. Boom! A white battle chi gushed out. Like a giant python, it rushed toward Qin Feiyang. Be careful! The Mermaid Emperor and the Mermaid Princess shouted at the same time. Kill me? You don't have that ability. Qin Feiyang's lips curled into a mocking smile. With a thought, he disappeared without a trace. The battle chi swept past the place where he disappeared. Not far away, a few palaces were instantly razed to the ground. The sound of the explosion was deafening. The white-winged king and the black-winged king were surprised. Earlier, their subordinates had told them about this, but at first, they did not think much of it. Wasn't it just a magician? What's the big deal? But now that they saw it with their own eyes, they realized that this was not the case at all. This person wasn't performing a magic trick. He had a treasure that allowed him to hide. At this moment, the Mermaid Emperor landed where Qin Feiyong had disappeared. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air and gave the prolongation pill to the Mermaid Emperor. Thank you. The Mermaid Emperor looked at him gratefully. While the Black Wing Monarch and the Mermaid Emperor were still in a daze, he quickly threw it into his mouth. Medicinal pills. And it's a pill with pill veins. The Black Wing Monarch and the Black Wing Monarch's eyes widened. Although they were in a trance, they could still clearly see the pill veins on the life-prolonging pill. His heart was filled with disbelief. It was actually a top-grade medicinal pill. This pill is also for you. This is all I can do. The rest is up to you. Also, listen to my advice. Don't be merciful anymore. When it's time to be cold-blooded, be cold-blooded. Qin Feiyong stuffed another regeneration pill into the Mermaid Emperor's hand and disappeared again. Thank you. The Mermaid Emperor muttered. He could clearly sense that both his exhausted qi and blood, as well as his depleted life force, were rapidly recovering. The source of his strength seemed to have been ignited. Waves of explosive power surged in his body like a torrent. The Black Wing Monarch and the Mermaid Emperor finally regained their senses. Their faces were filled with sarcasm. So what if you have a top-grade medicinal pill? Your time is up. Unless you have a prolongation pill, you're still going to die. The Black Wing Monarch rushed toward the Mermaid Emperor with a murderous look in his eyes. You guys are really short-sighted. The Mermaid Emperor swallowed the regeneration pill and a cold smile appeared on his face. This regeneration pill was just an ordinary pill. Its effect couldn't be so fast. But the vitality in his body was rapidly recovering. The Mermaid Emperor was not afraid. He leaped and faced the Black Wing Monarch. The two of them fought again. How did his strength become stronger? As soon as they exchanged blows, the Black Wing King noticed something strange. Impossible. It must be an illusion. However, after a few rounds of collision, he could clearly feel that the Mermaid Emperor's strength had become stronger. Moreover, it was getting stronger step by step. Why is this happening? The Black Wing Monarch was extremely surprised. All of a sudden, the Mermaid Emperor roared, and the right arm that he had lost was reconstructed. The Black Wing Monarch was shocked. Moreover, he also noticed that the Mermaid Emperor was gradually becoming younger. That's right. He was really much younger than before. The wrinkles on his face gradually decreased. His stooped body was not as weak as before. Even through his clothes, a few abdominal muscles could be seen. The White Wing Monarch also noticed this. His face was full of surprise. The Mermaid Princess was crying tears of joy. Her father had always been a hero in her heart. Once, watching her father grow old bit by bit, her heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. She wanted to help her father, but she was powerless. She endured all the pain in silence and never confided in anyone. Now, seeing her father gradually recover his former vigor, the excitement in her heart could no longer be controlled. She was like a child, crying uncontrollably. When the White Wing Monarch noticed her abnormality, his eyes suddenly turned cold, and he shouted, "Tell me what's going on?" "Until now, you still don't understand. Father said that you were short-sighted, but he thought too highly of you." The supreme grade pill that Qin Feiyong gave to father just now was the prolongation pill. The Mermaid Princess's eyes were full of ridicule. What? Damn little bastard. The two of them were instantly furious. Boom. And at this time, the Mermaid Emperor's aura finally recovered to its peak. Black Wing Monarch, White Wing Monarch, do you still want to continue? He glanced at the Black Wing Monarch and the White Wing Monarch, his whole body emitting a terrifying aura of an emperor. Most of the wrinkles on his face had disappeared, and his face was glowing. He was at least 10 years younger. The Black Wing Monarch's face was gloomy. Suddenly, a look of madness appeared in his eyes. Since we have already shed all pretense of cordiality, then we must fight to the death today. Kill! He summoned his human-shaped war soul, and with a low roar, he charged forward angrily. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands, and a palm-sized black seal, carrying a shocking demonic aura, charged toward the Mermaid Emperor. This was another battle art of the Mermaid clan. Seal of the Sea King. It also came from an inheritance, and only the Black-Winged Mermaids could cultivate it. Don't be stubborn. The Mermaid Emperor roared. Golden light shone in front of him, and a terrifying aura erupted like a volcano, unstoppable. The Seal of Neptune appeared out of nowhere. This was one of the battle arts that the Mermaid Emperors cultivated. The Seal of Neptune turned into a bright golden light, breaking through the water waves, crushing the human-shaped war soul, shattering the Seal of the Sea King, and bombarding the Black-Winged Monarch. Ah! Immediately, the Black-Winged Monarch screamed and flew out. On all sides of Undersea City was an endless mountain range. Mountains stacked on top of each other. The Black-Winged Monarch flew into the mountain range, smashing one peak after another. The rumbling sound was like thunder, deafening. So strong. Looking at this scene, the White-Winged Monarch could not help but shudder. What's the point of this? The Mermaid Emperor sighed deeply, retracted his gaze, and looked down at the White-Winged Monarch. He said indifferently, "It's not too late to turn back now." The White-Winged Monarch's heart trembled. In his heart, a deep fear emerged. His large hand firmly grabbed the Mermaid Princess' neck, and he laughed sinisterly. "Don't be so complacent. Break your own arms now, or I will really kill her." The Mermaid Emperor clenched his 10 fingers, and there was a trace of hostility in his eyes. Cough cough. At this moment, the Black-Winged Monarch flew over in a sorry state, constantly coughing up blood, and laughed sinisterly. "Your daughter is in our hands. You have no choice." "Is that so?" The Mermaid Emperor looked at the two of them, and a smile crept onto his face. He looked at the Mermaid Princess and said, "Daughter, for the safety of the Mermaid clan, Father can only let you down." The Mermaid Princess smiled and slowly closed her eyes, without the slightest hint of blame. Seeing this, the Black-Winged Monarch and the White-Winged Monarch became anxious. If the Mermaid Emperor really did not care about the Mermaid Princess, then they would be completely finished today. "I'll kill you first." The Mermaid Emperor suddenly looked at the Black-Winged Monarch, and killing intent appeared in his eyes for the first time. Boom! He took a step forward and landed in front of the Black-Winged Monarch. The Black-Winged Monarch's pupils shrank, and he hurriedly retreated. But the Mermaid Emperor was faster, and a palm landed on his chest. "Ah!" the Black-Winged Monarch screamed, and his entire chest caved in. Blood gushed out of his mouth. He really wants to kill. The White-Winged Monarch's heart trembled. The Mermaid Emperor was easygoing, and he never cared about gains and losses. And he would not be angry because of one thing. Even when facing those unpardonable evil clansmen, he would persuade them with kind words. In the eyes of all the Mer people, he was a benevolent emperor. So, even if he did not activate his battle soul and did not have the golden wings, he was still deeply loved by the Mermaid clan. But this time, he was really angry. He took another step forward, and his big hand turned into an eagle's claw, grabbing the Black-Winged Monarch's wing. With a puff, a piece of the black wing was torn off by the Mermaid Emperor on the spot. "Ah!" the Black-Winged Monarch's face contorted, and he screamed. "Let go of our king." A group of Black-Winged guards rushed over angrily. "What? Do you want to rebel like the Black-Winged Monarch? If so, I don't mind uprooting all of you Black-Winged guards." The Mermaid Emperor glanced at them coldly. It was not easy for the Mermaid clan to survive until now, and he did not want to hurt these clansmen. But Qin Feiyong was right. They should be cold-blooded. Sometimes, they had to use iron-blooded methods. Kindness would only increase the other party's arrogance. Heard. All the Black-Winged guards stopped in unison, and their eyes were filled with fear. The Mermaid Emperor now seemed to have changed into a different person, cold and ruthless, and they were afraid. "Ah!" the Mermaid Emperor grabbed another piece of the Black-Winged Monarch's wing and tore it off forcefully. Blood spurted out like a fountain. "Emperor, please show mercy and spare the king's life. No matter how wrong he is still the king of the Mermaid clan. Even if he doesn't contribute, he has worked hard. Emperor, I beg you." Those Black-Winged guards all knelt on the ground begging. "King, let the princess go as well. Don't make any more mistakes. As long as you know your mistakes and can change, the emperor will definitely forgive you." A group of White-Winged guards also ran over and knelt in front of the White-Winged Monarch, begging. It seems that the outcome has been decided. Chapter 284. As soon as Qin Feiyong appeared outside, everyone present looked at him in unison. Their expressions were different. The Mermaid Emperor and his daughter were very grateful. The Black-Winged King and the White-Winged King were full of resentment. If it weren't for Qin Feiyong's interference, the Mermaid Emperor would have been killed long ago. The control of the Mermaid clan had already fallen into their hands. It was this human youth who had ruined their overall plan. As for the White-Winged Guard and the Black-Winged Guard, their expressions were full of fear. Everyone was watching, but Qin Feiyong was extremely calm. He had seen even grander scenes than this before. He glanced at everyone and said indifferently, "Don't look at me like that. I'm just a passerby." The White-Winged King said angrily, "Since you're just a passerby, why are you getting involved? Do you have nothing better to do? I just can't stand your style. What's wrong?" Qin Feiyong looked at him indifferently. Hearing this, the White-Winged King was so angry that his nose was crooked. A White-Winged Guard said anxiously, "King, don't quarrel with him. Let go of the princess. If this goes on, the Emperor will really kill you." Haha. Not only did the White-Winged King not let go, he even laughed loudly. "You're hopeless." The Mermaid Emperor's face turned cold. The seal of Neptune appeared out of thin air and shot toward the White-Winged King like a golden meteor. "Mermaid Emperor, do you really think that this king and the Black-Winged God want to rebel? Now, this king will tell you that it's the will of the ancestors to make you back down." The White-Winged King laughed wildly. "Ancestors?" Qin Feiyong frowned. "Impossible." The Mermaid Emperor shouted resolutely. Swish! At the same time, two figures, one black and one white, silently descended above the undersea city. They were also two mermaids. A black-winged fishman. A white-winged fishman. They were both middle-aged and quite tall and sturdy. But behind them, there were actually 3 pairs of wings. The white-winged fishman waved his hand, and a white beam of light swept out. The seal of Neptune that was heading toward the White-Winged King was instantly annihilated and turned into nothingness. "Who is it?" The Mermaid Emperor was shocked. He looked up and his expression changed. "Greetings, White-Wing 9 ancestors, Black-Wing 9 ancestors." At this moment, all the fishmen prostrated themselves on the ground, including the White-Winged King. The Mermaid Emperor did not kneel, but his expression was one of respect. White-Winged 9 ancestors. 9 Black-Wing ancestors. Qin Feiyong felt a chill in his heart. 3 pairs of wings. He didn't expect the Merfolk clan to have such a strong person. When he visited the undersea city with the Mermaid Princess, the Mermaid Princess had mentioned it to him. The merfolk's wings would increase with the improvement of their cultivation. The warlord had a pair of wings. The war emperor had 2 pairs of wings. 3 pairs of wings was an existence that surpassed the war emperor. The 2 ancestors also looked at Qin Feiyong. The moment their eyes met, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. However, he didn't avoid their gazes. Instead, he looked directly at the 2 of them. From their eyes, he could see a trace of greed. That was right. The 2 of them must be coveting something on him. Immediately, Qin Feiyong's heart sank. After a while, the 2 ancestors turned their gazes and glanced at the Mermaid Emperor and the others. White-Winged King, release the princess. Mermaid Emperor, release the Black-Winged King as well. The White-Winged 9 ancestors said expressionlessly. Yes. The White-Winged King bowed and finally released the Mermaid Princess. The Mermaid Emperor also released the Black-Winged Guard. He looked at the 2 of them and asked, "Just now, the White-Winged King said that all of this was your idea. Is that so?" "That's right, it was our idea." The 2 of them nodded. "Why? Did I do something wrong?" The Mermaid Emperor said angrily. "On the contrary, you did very well, but in the end, you did not obtain the inheritance of the first Mermaid Emperor. Now that your time is up, you should give up the throne." The 2 ancestors were a little disappointed and regretful. The Mermaid Emperor said in a deep voice, "I have already taken the prolonging pill and have 100 years of life." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. "No, the best prolonging pill can extend your life by 200 years. "What?" The White-Winged King and the others were shocked. The Mermaid Princess was also stunned. She quickly came in front of Qin Feiyong and asked, "Is this true?" Qin Feiyong nodded. "That's great. The mermaid princess was overjoyed. Haha, the mermaid emperor also laughed and said, "Ancestors, did you hear that? I still have 200 years of life. So what? For powerhouses like us, 200 years is just a blink of an eye." The two ancestors glanced at Qin Feiyong and said faintly, 200 years is indeed too short, but I am confident that I can break through the War Emperor realm and step into a higher realm within 200 years. The mermaid emperor's heroic spirit soared to the sky, and his entire body was brimming with unparalleled confidence. He was not exaggerating, because his cultivation realm was about to break through. But unfortunately, his time was up. He thought that he would regret it for the rest of his life. But he never expected that Qin Feiyong would appear at this time and give him a chance to be reborn. Hearing his words, the two patriarchs were rather moved. This was the first time they saw such a confident side of the mermaid emperor. The White Wing King suddenly said, "Ancestors, don't listen to his nonsense. He is just stalling for time." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Even now, he still wanted to get rid of the mermaid emperor. This person was really malicious. The most important thing was, these two ancestors were not good people either. They thought that the outcome was already decided, but now it seemed that this was just the beginning. At the same time, the mermaid princess also glared at the White Wing King. But the mermaid emperor turned a deaf ear. He did not even look at the White Wing King. His eyes were fixed on the two ancestors. Perhaps in his eyes, the White Wing King was just a clown. A moment later, the Black Wing ancestor shook his head and said, "Whether you can break through in 200 years or not, you must abdicate today." The white-clothed ancestor said, "That's right, this is what all of us want." The mermaid emperor's face darkened. "All of us?" Qin Feiyong was shocked and asked in a low voice, "Princess, who exactly is there in your mermaid clan who has surpassed the War Emperor? They live in another place and rarely appear. Some of them have even never appeared, so I'm not too sure." The mermaid princess whispered. "It seems that the strength of the mermaid clan is not to be underestimated." Qin Feiyong muttered to himself, "We don't have time to waste." Quickly announced to the world that the Black Wing King and the White Wing King will be given the throne. Seeing that the mermaid emperor did not respond, the two ancestors lost their patience and urged him. The mermaid emperor clenched his fists and said, "If you can guarantee that the Black Wing King and the White Wing King will never betray the great Qin Empire, I can give up the throne. You don't need to worry about this. You just need to enjoy your old age." The two ancestors said. The mermaid emperor was not angry. Instead he smiled. However, his face, which was full of vicissitudes of life, carried a kind of desolation and self-deprecation. Qin Feiyong also felt inexplicably sad. It could be seen that the mermaid emperor really was a saint emperor, who loved his people as if they were his children. He desperately wanted to protect the inheritance of the mermaid clan. Unfortunately, there were too many ambitious people in the mermaid clan. The mermaid princess whispered, "Qin Feiyong, you are the son of the emperor. Can you help my father?" "How can I help?" Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. He was the son of the emperor in name only. Not to mention helping the mermaid emperor, if his identity was exposed and spread to the ears of those in the imperial capital, there might be no place for him in the entire great Qin Empire. The White Wing ancestor raised his eyebrows and said, "Mermaid emperor, do you need me to repeat myself?" Sigh. Glancing at the huge undersea city, the mermaid emperor sighed and nodded. "Okay, this emperor will. Let's take a gamble." At this time, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, took a step forward and shouted, "Wait!" Everyone's eyes fell on him in an instant. The White Wing ancestor said, "Human young man, this is a family matter of the mermaid clan. I advise you not to interfere." "I can't help it. I don't have any good points, but I like to meddle in other people's business." Qin Feiyong shrugged. Meddling in other people's business is considered a good point? Everyone was speechless. "I'm afraid you don't have the ability to interfere here." The eyes of the two ancestors flashed with a shocking cold light. Seeing this, the mermaid emperor hurriedly said, "Little brother, thank you very much for standing up for this emperor at this time, but the situation is set." "Who said the situation is set?" The corner of Qin Feiyong's mouth raised slightly, looked at the two so-called ancestors, and said indifferently, "To be honest, I really do have the ability. Not only that, I also have the ability to destroy the mermaid clan." As soon as the last two words came out, His temperament changed drastically, like a cold-blooded god of death, making the mermaid princess next to him tremble. The killing intent of the two ancestors surged. Don't think I'm putting on an act. Look at what this is. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and an image crystal appeared out of thin air. A mere battle king actually has an image crystal? The two ancestors were shocked. This time, I crossed the desert of death and came to the Sea of Despair to go to the state capital. But I didn't expect that the state capital's test for me would let me discover the mermaid clan. Say, if I report your matter to the state capital, how will the state capital react? What if I report the fact that you want to rebel? What will they do? Qin Feiyong sneered. As soon as these words came out, the mermaids around were in an uproar. The mermaid clan had been able to survive until now because they had not been discovered by humans. If the news really spread, it would not be long before a large number of human powerhouses came here. The white-winged ancestor said in a deep voice. What do you want? The Mermaid Emperor will continue to be the Mermaid Emperor. As for you old things, do what you have to do, don't join in the fun. Qin Feiyong said. Impossible. The two ancestors said flatly. In that case, I'll inform the state capital now. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed sharply. Boom. The pressure of the two ancestors roared out at the same time, instantly shrouding Qin Feiyong. Immediately after. Chapter 285. Idiot. Qin Feiyong laughed in disdain and instantly hid in the castle. But as soon as he entered the castle, his heart became heavy. Other than Wang Hong, he had never met any other rankers that surpassed the War Emperor. So, he didn't know if the castle could protect him. Fatso sighed. Boss, why are you doing this? Could it be that you really have taken a fancy to that princess? Stop talking nonsense. Qin Feiyong glared at him. Fatso asked doubtfully, since you don't like her, why are you standing up for her? Haven't you heard of shooting the bird that sticks out? Aren't you usually very smart? Why are you so stupid now? If the Mermaid Emperor is really deposed, do you think we can leave the Sea of Despair alive? White-winged king and black-winged king won't let me go, and the two great ancestors have ulterior motives towards me. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. For 10,000 years, the Merfolk clan was unknown to the world because they were not discovered by outsiders. Now that he knew, he would definitely be silenced. Fatso thought about it carefully, and realized that it was true. He was a little embarrassed and laughed. With Fat Lord's brain, there's no reason for him to not think of this. He must have been infected by Wolf King's stupidity. Wolf King immediately bit down. Pain, pain, pain. Brother, Fat Lord is wrong. Quickly let go, the meat is about to fall off. Fatso howled miserably on the spot. Serves you right. Qin Feiyong glared at him fiercely, and listened carefully to the movements outside. Where is he? Where did he hide? Two ancestors, he has a treasure to hide in. He must be hiding in there right now. A conversation was transmitted into the castle. Qin Feiyong finally heaved a sigh of relief. Next, he sized up the castle, his eyes shining brightly. Even the existence of the War Emperor could not sense the existence of the castle. What kind of treasure did Uncle Yuan leave for him? After I find Uncle Yuan, I must ask him clearly. Qin Feiyong, come out immediately. Let's talk. The voice of the white-winged nine progenitor suddenly appeared. Fatso hurriedly said, Boss, you can't go out. If they're lying in ambush outside, you'll die in their hands the moment you go out. Qin Feiyong frowned and sighed. If only I could see the situation outside. He took a deep breath and entered a state of high alert. Whoosh. With a flicker, he appeared outside. Boom. Immediately, a large hand grabbed at him. It was the white-winged ninth ancestor. His entire body carried a strong killing intent. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank as he hastily took a step back and shouted, You're courting death. I'll report this to the state government right now and have your Merman clan exterminated. Fortunately, he was prepared. Otherwise, he would have lost his life in that instant. The white-winged ninth ancestor frowned. This young man was too vigilant. Shwa! At this moment, the Mermaid Emperor swooped down and stood in front of Qin Feiyong. Looking at the white-winged ninth ancestor, he shouted, Do you really want my mermaid clan to perish? Humph! The white-winged ninth ancestor coldly snorted and sent a sound transmission. He knows too much. He must be silenced. If you kill him now, we will let you continue to be the Mermaid Emperor. An existence that surpassed the War Emperor could directly send a sound transmission. Right now, only the Mermaid Emperor could hear it. The others, including Qin Feiyong, who was right behind the Mermaid Emperor, could not hear it. The white-winged ninth ancestor thought that the Mermaid Emperor would agree. However, the Mermaid Emperor didn't even think about it and said, "He is the successor of the first emperor. Our mermaid clan should protect him, not kill him." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Hearing the Mermaid Emperor's words, he immediately knew that the white-winged ninth ancestor must have secretly instigated the Mermaid Emperor to kill him. "Old thing, you were the one who was heartless first. Don't blame me for being unjust," he sneered. He took out the image crystal and poured his battle chi into it. The Mermaid Emperor's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, "Little brother, you can't tell the people outside. I beg you, please have mercy." It was too late. A peerless aura swiftly manifested. It was his cheap sister, Ren Wushuang. "Quickly dodge. Don't let her see you," the Mermaid Emperor roared. For a moment, this place was in chaos. All the mermaids ran towards a place where Ren Wushuang could not see. After Ren Wushuang appeared, she looked at the environment behind Qin Feiyong and frowned. "Feiyong, where are you?" Qin Feiyong looked at the Mermaid Emperor. The Mermaid Emperor was silent and looked at him pleadingly. He then looked at the two great ancestors, as well as the white-winged emperor and the black-winged emperor. The white-winged emperor and the black-winged emperor's faces were also full of fear. The two great ancestors frowned, and their eyes were hazy. Qin Feiyong looked up at Ren Wushuang and said with a smile, "Sister, I found a very fun place. Do you want to come?" Ren Wushuang smiled faintly and said, "I want to, but as soon as I returned to the state capital, I was locked up by Grandpa. Don't just play around. Hurry up and report to the state capital. I'll be there as soon as possible." "Sister, who is your grandpa?" Even Wang Hong showed respect when he mentioned him. Qin Feiyong was puzzled. In fact, he was giving the Mermaid Emperor time, because he believed that the Mermaid Emperor must know his intention. Sure enough, the Mermaid Emperor immediately flew to the two great ancestors and whispered something with an angry face. Ren Wushuang smiled and said, "My grandpa's status is very high. When you come to the state capital you will know." "Hi. Is it higher than the governor's?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled. "It won't be higher than the manor head, but it won't be lower either." Ren Wushuang smiled mysteriously. Qin Feiyong was getting more and more puzzled. Suddenly, a terrifying thought appeared in his mind, and he said in surprise, "Is your grandpa the governor?" "Not higher than the governor's, but not lower either." Then only the governor met these two conditions. Ren Wushuang was stunned and said with a wry smile, "I wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect you to guess it so quickly. This cheap sister's grandpa was actually the governor's?" Qin Feiyong's mood suddenly became complicated. What he was most afraid of was meeting the governor. But now, with his relationship with Ren Wushuang, it was only a matter of time before they met. At the same time, knowing that Qin Feiyong was acquainted with the governor's granddaughter, the Mermaid Emperor was even more anxious. The two great ancestors' eyes also changed, and there was a trace of deep fear in their eyes. "Qin Feiyong, let's talk again." The white-winged nine ancestors transmitted their voice. They finally compromised. They could only compromise. Because if Qin Feiyong said it, the army of the state capital would probably immediately rush to the Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyong also laughed. Ren Wushuang asked in confusion, "What are you laughing at?" "Nothing. I just haven't seen you for a few months. Sister, you've become prettier." Qin Feiyong chuckled. "Little bastard." Ren Wushuang rolled his eyes and frowned. "Are you in some kind of trouble?" Qin Feiyong laughed narcissistically and said, "I'm such a smart person. What kind of trouble can I get into?" "Well, I'll contact you when we get to the state capital." Ren Wushuang rolled his eyes and said, "Be careful on the way. If you really can't do it, let me know. I'll send someone to pick you up." "Okay." Qin Feiyong nodded and put away the image crystal. He looked at the two great ancestors and said with a smile, "It should be like this from the beginning. There's no need to hurt our friendship. A hint of hostility flashed in the eyes of the two. This is a matter of our clan. As an outsider, you shouldn't interfere. But since it's already like this, let's think of a more fair way to solve this matter. The black-winged ancestor said. Qin Feiyong crossed his arms and said with a faint smile, since you said so, you must have thought of a way. Tell me about it. If the princess can grow golden wings in 3 days, the Mermaid Emperor will continue to rule the Mermaid clan. But if he can't, he has to give up the throne, and you can't continue to interfere. The black-winged ancestor said. That's fair? Qin Feiyong was stunned and was about to speak. The mermaid princess said first, Ancestors, with all due respect, you're obviously biased. To accept the inheritance, one must break through to the Battle Monarch realm. But I just broke through to the 8-star Martial Grandmaster realm. How can I do it in 3 days? After talking for so long, don't you want my father to abdicate? In the past, when I heard rumors about you, I respected you, but I didn't expect you to be so unreasonable. She scolded with righteous indignation. That's right. If she's given enough time, I guarantee that she can grow golden wings. Because the bloodline power in her body is several times stronger than mine. The Mermaid Emperor almost roared, and his face was full of pride. The black-winged ancestor said expressionlessly, This is the biggest concession we can make. Whether you can do it or not depends on your ability. Slap. The sound of a loud slap could be heard. Qin Feiyong clapped and said with a smile, Wonderful, wonderful. I've finally seen it. What's the meaning of being invincible? It should be referring to the two of you. The two ancestors clenched their fingers tightly, and the cracking sounds of their joints could be heard. They were extremely angry. If it were not for the fact that they were not confident, they would have killed Qin Feiyong long ago. Qin Feiyong glanced at the two of them with undisguised disdain. He looked at the mermaid princess and asked, Are you really confident that you can grow golden wings? Yes. The mermaid princess's eyes were firm. Qin Feiyong looked at the two ancestors and said, Do you mean what you say? Of course. The two of them nodded. Qin Feiyong said, Well then, let's go to the sacred land immediately. Everyone was surprised. Princess, 3 days is too long. I only need 3 breaths to help you break through to the 9-star Martial Grandmaster realm. Qin Feiyong flicked his sleeves and took the lead to walk to the sacred land. 3 breaths. The mermaid princess's body and mind trembled. How could he do it in 3 breaths? But in her heart, she believed Qin Feiyong's words. Daughter, follow him quickly. The mermaid emperor grabbed the mermaid princess and chased after Qin Feiyong. He also chose to believe Qin Feiyong unconditionally. The reason was very simple. This young man was the successor of the first emperor. Breaking through to the 9-star Martial Grandmaster realm in 3 breaths? What a daydream. I'd like to see how you can do it. The two ancestors looked at each other and flew to the sacred land with a face full of sarcasm. Let's go and see how that arrogant idiot embarrasses himself. The white-winged king and the black-winged king also led their subordinates and rushed to the sacred land. Chapter 286. Holy Land. Qin Feiyong didn't go in. Instead, he bowed to the statue of the first emperor from afar. The white-winged ancestor said impatiently, Don't dawdle. Hurry up. The white-winged king stood at the side and said disdainfully, If you can really do it, I will bark like a dog in front of everyone. Looking for a beating? Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned. He looked at the white-winged king and asked, Are you really going to bark like a dog? The white-winged king said provocatively, I am a man of my word. Qin Feiyong grinned and said, Black-winged king, do you want to bet too? If I lose, I will give you a regeneration pill. The pair of wings you lost will be back soon. He offered a very tempting offer. The black-winged king's eyes lit up and he sneered, Let's bet. Do you think I'm afraid of you? You have guts. Qin Feiyong laughed sinisterly and entered the castle. Fatso chuckled and said, Boss, let Fat Lord go out and join in the fun. Qin Feiyong said, Are you sure you want to go out? You only have 1 year. The smile on Fatso's face froze. He shook his head and said, Forget it. Fat Lord should focus on cultivation. Qin Feiyong walked to the altar and took out a top-grade red fire-colored glass pill from the jade box. Then, he appeared outside the Holy Land with Wolf King. There is a loud sound in the sky. Brother Wolf has appeared. You two old men, let me ask you first. Do you know how a dog barks? Wolf King immediately stood up and roared in high spirits. He looked at the black-winged king and asked. The two immediately looked at Wolf King with murderous eyes. Qin Feiyong smiled and walked to the mermaid princess. He said with a smile, "This pill is for you. Consider it your compensation." Compensation? The mermaid princess was stunned. Then, she came to a realization and blushed. What happened to me? He's just a teenager. Why should I blush? She was a little flustered. Qin Feiyong stuffed the pill into her hand and said with a faint smile, "Quickly take it. I guarantee that they will be shocked." The mermaid princess calmed herself down and looked at the pill. Then, she opened her red lips and put it into her mouth. 1 breath. 2 breaths. 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, he saw that the mermaid princess's cultivation had not changed at all. The black-winged monarch and the others had mocking looks in their eyes. They were about to open their mouths to mock them. Boom! The mermaid princess's aura was like a volcanic eruption. It suddenly soared to the level of a 9-star martial ancestor. Furthermore, his aura did not stop, and it was still rising. How is this possible? She just broke through to the 8-star martial ancestor realm. What kind of pill did she take just now? How could it possess such terrifying power? Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded and filled with disbelief. Even the mermaid emperor and the mermaid princess were in disbelief. Very quickly, the mermaid princess's soaring aura stopped. He did not directly break through to the 1-star battle king. Qin Feiyong was not surprised. This was because only creatures below the battle king level would take the red fire-colored glass pill. Therefore, what happened next would depend on the mermaid princess's luck. Am I dreaming? The mermaid princess was stunned for a moment, then said in surprise, "Father, it's really magical. I feel that I can break through to the battle king realm soon." The mermaid emperor was also full of smiles. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Little brother, if I remember correctly, this should be the red fire-colored glass pill, right?" Qin Feiyong nodded. Damn it! He actually has this kind of pill. The two patriarchs were furious. Although the mermaid clan was not unfamiliar with pills, they did not understand them very well. Therefore, they did not know how many tricks Qin Feiyong had up his sleeves. Wolf King chuckled and said, "Old man, why aren't you barking like a dog?" Qin Feiyong laughed. "Let's wait for a while, so as not to disturb the princess from accepting the inheritance." Phew! The mermaid princess took a deep breath, stepped onto the sacred ground, and swam towards the statue of the first-generation mermaid emperor. After a few breaths, she stopped at the foot of the statue, her expression extremely pious. "Ancestor, the mermaid clan cannot fall into the hands of evil people. If you can hear me, please help me." She muttered to herself, prostrated herself on the ground, and kowtowed. The Black Wing King and the White Wing King looked at each other, and a cold light flashed across their eyes at the same time. But at this moment, Qin Feiyong took out the image crystal. At that moment, everyone was shocked. The mermaid emperor asked in surprise, "Little brother, what are you doing?" Qin Feiyong laughed. "Of course it's to prevent villains from causing trouble." Villains? The mermaid emperor was stunned, and suddenly came to a realization. He glanced at the Black Wing King and the others, and said in a deep voice, "If anyone dares to disturb her from accepting the inheritance, I will fight them to the death." Finished speaking. With a flash, he landed behind the mermaid princess, carefully protecting her. The Black Wing King and the others looked at Qin Feiyong. That sinister look in their eyes seemed to want to pull out his tendons, peel his skin, and drink his blood. After the mermaid princess finished kowtowing, she prostrated herself on the ground, quietly waiting for the inheritance to descend. Time passed by breath. 100 breaths later, there was no movement from the statue of the first-generation mermaid emperor. Did it fail? Qin Feiyong frowned. The two ancestors and the Black Wing monarch both had smiles on their faces. Generally speaking, if the inheritance did not descend after 100 breaths, it meant that it had failed. Qin Feiyong, did you see that? Even the first-generation mermaid emperor agreed to his abdication. This is the will of the heavens. The White Wing ninth ancestor said with a smile. Qin Feiyong glanced at him and looked at the mermaid princess. He could clearly see that her body was trembling. Why is it like this? The bloodline power in my body will not lose to any mermaid emperor. But why can't I obtain the inheritance? Could this really be the will of the heavens? She muttered, trying to control her tears, but she couldn't control them at all. Child, don't be sad. Look at father, even without the inheritance, he can still cultivate to the 9-star war emperor. The mermaid emperor sighed deeply and went forward to comfort her in a low voice. But what about the mermaid clan? Are they really going to fall into the hands of these villains? The mermaid princess said. The mermaid emperor couldn't help but clench his hands tightly. He raised his head and looked at the statue of the first-generation mermaid emperor. His eyes filled with desolation. Why did you do this to my daughter? Why, suddenly? He roared hysterically. Qin Feiyang walked a few steps behind the mermaid princess and snorted. This kind of statue is not qualified to make people kneel. After that, he grabbed the mermaid princess's wrist and pulled her up. The White Wing King sneered. Mermaid Emperor, can you announce it to the world now? The mermaid emperor closed his eyes and let out a long breath. When he opened his eyes again, there was no longer any reluctance in them. He said lightly, "This throne, it's fine if I don't want it." Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly looked at the mermaid princess's wrist, his face full of surprise. What are you looking at? Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess were stunned and also looked down. The two of them immediately revealed a trace of awkwardness. Qin Feiyang hurriedly let go. But then, he was shocked to find that his hand seemed to be stuck to the mermaid princess's wrist, and he couldn't take it away. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The mermaid princess also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Qin Feiyang blushed and hurriedly explained, "It's not that I don't want to let go, it's that I can't." Wasn't this a joke? How could this happen? The mermaid princess tried, and a trace of surprise appeared on her face. Don't move! The mermaid emperor suddenly shouted in a low voice. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang and the White Wing King looked at him in confusion. The mermaid emperor didn't say anything. When he looked closer, he immediately saw that Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess's hands were glowing with a layer of faint golden light. It was almost impossible to see with the naked eye. What are you doing there? I'm telling you, don't try to stall for time. The Black Wing King and the White Wing King shouted. This guy is finally in heat. How rare. Wolf King chuckled and quickly ran over, saying disdainfully, Little Qin Zi, if you like her, just say it. Why do you have to find such a lousy excuse? The mermaid princess blushed. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang was particularly embarrassed and said angrily, Who has time to find excuses? I really can't give her away. Don't explain, I understand. After all, you are already 16 years old, and the princess is so beautiful. It's normal for you to be in heat. But princess, your fishtail, ahem. Forgive me for being blunt, but I'm afraid it's a little difficult. Wolf King laughed mischievously. Get lost. Qin Feiyang roared like thunder and kicked fiercely at Wolf King. The Wolf King easily dodged the attack and shook his head. I've heard people say that men in heat are easily irritable. Looks like it's true. The mermaid princess lowered her head, and her cheeks were so red that water was about to drip out. Qin Feiyang was about to go crazy. Is this wolf cub done yet? Didn't he see that the atmosphere was getting more and more awkward? What's more, the mermaid emperor was right in front of him. Did he think about his feelings when he teased his daughter like this? However, no matter how mischievous Wolf King was, the mermaid emperor did not pay attention to him. His eyes were firmly locked on Qin Feiyang's hands. As time passed, the golden light became more and more intense. Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess finally noticed this phenomenon and were immediately surprised. Could it be that all of this was related to this golden light? Voila! The golden light gradually became extremely dazzling. Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess were both submerged in the golden light. The Black Wing King and the others looked at each other, their faces full of doubts. Bas! Suddenly, two bright golden lights flashed out from the eyes of the first-generation mermaid emperor statue, enveloping Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. This is the inheritance. How could this be? Could it be related to that kid again? The two ancestors' eyes were wide open in anger, and their eyeballs were about to pop out. That's right. This is the inheritance. I finally understand. The Mermaid Emperor muttered to himself, his body trembling. This was excitement. Swoosh. He suddenly turned around and looked at the Black Wing King and the others, his eyes full of vigilance. At the same time, Wolf King also turned to look at them, a fierce light flashing in his eyes. Little Qin Zi is finally in heat. If any of you dare to disturb them, Brother Wolf promises that today will be the end of the mermaid clan. As soon as these words came out, everyone's gaze became incomparably strange. The veins on the Mermaid Emperor's forehead were also bulging. This rogue wolf was really a damn bastard. The White Wing ancestor looked at the two people shrouded in golden light and frowned. Mermaid Emperor, what the hell is going on? Except for the two of them, no one else is qualified to know about this matter. Chapter 287. Everyone was puzzled. What was it that only the person involved had the right to know? At the same time, Qin Feiyong, who was inside the golden light, was also puzzled when he heard the Mermaid Emperor's words. He turned to look at the Mermaid Princess. He realized that the Mermaid Princess's eyes were slightly closed and there was a layer of hazy light on her cheeks. It was as if she had fallen into a deep sleep and was very peaceful. Suddenly, he looked at the Mermaid Princess's back with a strange light in his eyes. The clothes on her back bulged as if something was going to come out. Puff! The golden scale clothes suddenly broke. The two wings grew bigger and appeared behind her, as if they were made of gold, shining with golden light. Every feather was like silk, soft and beautiful. Did I succeed? But what does this have to do with me? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. The one who received the inheritance was the Mermaid Princess. Why did she tie him together with her? He tried but he still could not loosen his grip. What did this mean? Was she deliberately playing with him? Boom! When the golden wings grew out, the Mermaid Princess's aura also soared rapidly. It stopped at the one-star Battle King level. At the same time, a golden battle soul appeared behind her. The battle soul's appearance could not be seen, but its figure was similar to the first Mermaid Emperor. Looking at the Mermaid Princess, she was like a queen who had descended to the world, exuding a sacred and inviolable aura. If she didn't have the fishtail, this woman's beauty would definitely not be inferior to my cheap sister. Qin Feiyong mumbled. At this moment, the Mermaid Princess opened her eyes and there was a layer of hazy golden light in her pupils. She turned to look at Qin Feiyong and asked in confusion, "What are you mumbling about?" "Did I?" No. Congratulations on receiving the inheritance." Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly and hurriedly changed the topic. Inheritance? The Mermaid Princess was stunned. She looked up at the battle soul above her and then turned to look at the wings on her back. Her face was instantly filled with surprise. "I succeeded. I really did it. Father, there's no need to abdicate." Qin Feiyong, thank you. She was as excited as a 3-year-old girl, jumping for joy. In the end, she even kissed Qin Feiyong's face. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Touching the place where he was kissed, a strange feeling welled up in his heart. No matter what, he was almost 17 years old. He had matured in a certain aspect. Teasing him like this, wasn't she afraid of getting herself into trouble? Seeing this, the Mermaid Princess covered her mouth and laughed. "Don't think too much. In my eyes, you're just a little brother who hasn't grown up yet." Qin Feiyong's face twitched. The other people of the same age had already gone to seek out other women. Although he didn't have this hobby, it didn't mean that he hadn't grown up. Moreover, this Mermaid Princess seemed to be only a few years older than her. The Mermaid Princess sensed that the atmosphere was not right, and her beautiful face could not help but blush slightly. "Try again, can you let go of me?" "Why should I let go? Anyway, I'm just a little brother, and I can't do any harm to you." Qin Feiyong grinned. The Mermaid Princess said anxiously, "But if it continues like this, others will misunderstand." "So what if it's a misunderstanding?" Qin Feiyong looked indifferent. The Mermaid Princess glared at him and said angrily, "Why are you like this?" "What about me?" Qin Feiyong asked back. "You." The Mermaid Princess gnashed her teeth in shame and anger. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but laugh. He didn't continue to tease her, and his 5 fingers loosened slightly. This time, the previous situation didn't happen. He let go easily. Qin Feiyong opened his palm and looked at his palm, but he didn't find anything wrong. Why were they stuck together? He looked at the mermaid princess wrist again and found nothing unusual. Strange. Qin Feiyong frowned and walked out of the golden light. That golden light also quickly rushed into the mermaid princess body. Not long after, she appeared in front of everyone's eyes. She actually succeeded. The Black Wing King and the others were stunned. The golden wings and the golden human-shaped battle soul were especially dazzling in their eyes. Fear and respect also arose in their hearts. This fear and respect didn't come from the mermaid princess, but from that battle soul. That battle soul symbolized the first-generation mermaid emperor. Qin Feiyong temporarily suppressed his doubts, raised his head to look at the two ancestors, and said with a faint smile, "What else do you have to say now?" The two of them were silent. Qin Feiyong said, "Let's see what you have to say. Then go back to where you came from." The two ancestors looked at each other. The White Wing ancestor said, "We admit defeat, but you have to come with us." "On what basis?" Qin Feiyong frowned. The Black Wing ancestor said in a deep voice, "I might as well tell you the truth. We don't believe that you will keep this secret, so you can't leave the Sea of Despair." Qin Feiyong's heart skipped a beat. What he was worried about had indeed happened. The White Wing ancestor said, "As long as you stay here peacefully, not only will we not hurt you, but we will also treat you as an important guest." Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "I still have a lot of things to do. I can't stay here." The two ancestors' gazes turned cold. The Mermaid Emperor said, "Ancestors, I can guarantee that he won't reveal our mermaid clan." "What guarantee do you have?" "The words of humans can't be trusted at all." The two ancestors said angrily. The Mermaid Emperor said firmly, "I guarantee it with my life." The two ancestors frowned. The Mermaid Emperor said, "If it were anyone else, I wouldn't dare to guarantee it, but Qin Feiyong is trustworthy." The White Wing ancestor said in a deep voice, "If anything happens, will you be responsible?" I said, "I guarantee it with my life." The Mermaid Emperor said, "Since you're so stubborn, let's wait and see. I'd like to see if this human is what you said." The two ancestors snorted coldly and turned into streaks of light, disappearing in front of everyone. The Black Wing Emperor and the White Wing ancestor looked at each other and turned to leave with unwillingness in their hearts. "Hey, hey, hey! Aren't you guys forgetting something?" Wolf King suddenly shouted. The two of them shuddered. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, "Forget it. Asking people like them to bark like dogs is an insult to dogs. Don't go overboard." The two of them turned around and glared at Qin Feiyong, killing intent flashing in their eyes. "Am I wrong? Dogs represent loyalty. They will protect their masters to the death. What about you guys? Back then, the first emperor didn't exterminate the mermaid clan and even gave you a pure land. However, not only do you guys not know how to be grateful, you even tried to overthrow the great Qin Empire. You guys are worse than animals." Qin Feiyong shouted. The two of them were so angry that smoke came out of their heads and their bodies trembled. They had lived for hundreds of years and no one dared to speak to them like this. Not to mention humiliating them in public. Qin Feiyong glanced at the two of them and smiled at the Mermaid Emperor. "I have something to talk to you about. I have the same intention. Follow me." Black Wing Emperor, White Wing Emperor, I hope you guys can take care of yourselves. The Mermaid Emperor said coldly and left quickly with the two people and the wolf. "Bastard. I'll kill you myself sooner or later." The Black Wing Emperor and the White Wing Emperor looked at Qin Feiyong's back with a ferocious expression. If it weren't for Qin Feiyong helping the Mermaid Princess and the Mermaid Emperor, they would have already ascended the throne. So, in their eyes, Qin Feiyong had undoubtedly become a thorn in their flesh. In a palace. "Little brother, thank you very much. Please accept my bow." The Mermaid Emperor bowed. This time, if it weren't for Qin Feiyong, losing the throne would be a small matter. Both father and daughter would probably lose their lives. "Senior, you're too polite. It's just a small matter." Qin Feiyong smiled and helped the Mermaid Emperor up. To Qin Feiyong, it was indeed a small matter. But to the Mermaid Emperor, it was a life-saving grace. "If you like anything, just take it. I just hope you don't dislike it." The Mermaid Emperor cupped his hands. "No, no." Qin Feiyong hurriedly waved his hand and smiled. What a joke. Any one of these treasures would be priceless treasures if they were to be taken out. He couldn't wait to take them all. How could he dislike it? The Wolf King was even more direct. It had already begun to loot the palace, its eyes glowing with greed. Be more polite. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and looked at the Mermaid Emperor. Senior, why did that happen just now? The Mermaid Emperor said, This is what I wanted to tell you. Take off your shirt. Take off my shirt? Qin Feiyong frowned but still obeyed. When he took off his shirt and saw the red potential mark, the Mermaid Emperor was stunned. Qin Feiyong was also stunned. But what he saw was not the potential mark. He found that there was a golden heart-shaped mark on his chest. When did it appear? Why didn't he feel it at all? At this moment, the Mermaid Emperor exclaimed, I didn't expect you to open the third level of the Gate of Potential. No wonder your talent is so terrifying. I was just lucky. Qin Feiyong smiled and wondered, what's with this heart-shaped mark? Lucky. The Mermaid Emperor shook his head and didn't ask any more questions. He explained, This is called the concentric knot. Not only you have it, but my daughter also has it on her chest. I have it too. The Mermaid Princess was stunned. She turned around and pulled up the golden scale clothes on her chest. She found that there was indeed a heart-shaped mark. She tidied up her clothes and turned to look at the Mermaid Emperor. She asked suspiciously, Father, why is this happening? Only the Mermaid Emperors of the past generations know about this. Legend has it that the first emperor and the first Mermaid Emperor were worried that the Mermaid clan and the humans would start a war again. So they left a concentric knot in the statue. Only when a person with the bloodline of the first emperor and a mermaid with the bloodline of the first Mermaid Emperor have physical contact will the concentric knot appear. And as long as the concentric knot appears, it means that the two clans have been reconciled forever. All along, the Mermaid Emperors and I thought this was just a legend, but we didn't expect it to be true. It also happened to my daughter. The Mermaid Emperor sighed. Even he felt like he was dreaming. After listening, Qin Feiyong also sighed. The first emperor was indeed a far-sighted and wise monarch. The Mermaid Princess thought for a moment and asked, Father, how can I make the concentric knot disappear? Chapter 288. Qin Feiyong also felt uncomfortable. Concentric knot. Just from the name alone, it felt very ambiguous. It seemed that he and the Mermaid Princess weren't that close, right? Ahem. The Mermaid Emperor coughed and said, The appearance of this concentric knot means that you are going to be husband and wife. What? Both of them were dumbfounded. The Mermaid Emperor smiled and said, To put it more bluntly, the concentric knot will only disappear after you consummate your marriage. Isn't this forcing us to get married? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Putting aside the concentric knot, the Mermaid Princess was indeed very beautiful, but her lower body was a fishtail. How could they consummate their marriage? How could they cheat him like this? The Mermaid Princess looked up at Qin Feiyong and couldn't help blushing. She asked, Father, is there no other way? No. The concentric knot means that your hearts are connected. No matter how you try to avoid it, you will become husband and wife sooner or later. The Mermaid Emperor looked at the two of them with a smile. He was very satisfied with Qin Feiyong, his future son-in-law. Wolf King came over and glanced at the two of them sneakily. Little Qin Zi, you saw the princess body as soon as you came to the Sea of Despair, and now you have a concentric knot. This is Heaven's will. Heaven's will can't be disobeyed. Little Qin Zi, why don't you get married now and have a chubby baby as soon as possible? If you die one day, at least you won't have no successor. Wolf King laughed sinisterly. Qin Feiyong's face darkened and he said angrily, You bastard, get out of here as far as you can. What a troublemaker. Didn't he see that he was so annoyed? The Mermaid Emperor hurriedly reached out and said, Wait, White Wolf, what did you just say? Qin Feiyong saw my daughter's body? Father. The Mermaid Princess glared at the Mermaid Emperor and lowered her head. Her cheeks were red. Yes. Didn't your subordinates tell you? If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have been captured by your daughter and brought here. That's why I said this is fate. Wolf King chuckled. If you have the guts to say another word, I will castrate you right now. Qin Feiyong's veins bulged as he glared fiercely at Wolf King, his heart burning with rage. Fine, I won't tell you. Lecherous bastard, I despise you. Wolf King glanced at him with disdain. He turned around and continued to loot for treasures while drooling. Fate. The mermaid emperor was stunned. He looked at the mermaid princess and then at Qin Feiyang. With a serious expression he said, "Qin Feiyang, my daughter is innocent. You have to take responsibility." The mermaid princess said angrily, "Father, he's just a little brat. Why should he take responsibility?" "Little brat? Daughter, you don't understand the people on the land. They are already flirting around when they are 15 or 16 years old. What's more, you are only 4 or 5 years older than him. There is a saying that a woman 3 years older than her husband will carry gold bricks. You are 4 or 5 years older than him. It's equivalent to him carrying 4 or 5 gold bricks back. He has made a profit." "Well, I have decided. I will marry you tomorrow," the mermaid emperor said. "Senior, it's not like that." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He even said something like, "A woman 3 years older than her husband will carry gold bricks." This mermaid emperor really knows how to talk nonsense. "What, you want to deny it? Let me tell you, our mermaid clan values innocence the most. If you don't take responsibility, don't blame me for falling out with you right now," the mermaid emperor said with a sullen face. Falling out with him? To be honest, Qin Feiyang was really not afraid. It was just that with such a complicated relationship, he couldn't get angry. What should I do? He racked his brains to think of a solution. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Senior, give me some time, and also give the princess some time. After all, we don't have that kind of feeling between us." The mermaid princess said, "Yes, father, aren't you making things difficult for us by doing this?" The mermaid emperor hesitated for a moment, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Are you worried about my daughter's fishtail?" "Actually, you don't have to worry. Because we mermaids' tails can also turn into human legs," the mermaid emperor said. Wolf King's eyes lit up and roared, "That's easy, let's go to the bridal chamber. Wolf cub, I'm going to castrate you." Qin Feiyang was furious and couldn't hold it in anymore. He took out Chang Shui and pounced on Wolf King. "You're serious?" Wolf King was shocked and ran out of the palace without looking back. "This bastard is really infuriating." Qin Feiyang glared at Wolf King angrily and walked to the front of the mermaid emperor. "Senior, what I mean is, I'll think of a way to remove the concentric knot first. If it really doesn't work, the princess and I will slowly discuss the marriage. What do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked. The mermaid princess also hugged the mermaid emperor's arm and said coquettishly, "Father, don't worry about us young people, okay?" The mermaid emperor looked at the two and said helplessly, "Well, I don't care, it's up to you, but I have to explain it to you clearly." "Explain what?" The two were puzzled. The mermaid emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Before the concentric knot is removed, you can't be intimate with other women, it will make your heart burst. Daughter, you are the same." The two were dumbfounded. This meant that if they couldn't think of any other way to remove the concentric knot, they had to get married. "Ancestor, aren't you tricking us?" Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly. In addition, when you are separated, you can feel the emotions in the depths of your hearts. If one party is in a life-and-death crisis, the concentric knot will light up and actively send a signal for help to the other party. Moreover, it will also guide the other party's direction. The mermaid emperor said again. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang felt bitter in his heart. It seemed that this was the so-called telepathy. "Well, I won't disturb your relationship." With that, the mermaid emperor turned and left with a smile on his face. "Relationship?" Qin Feiyang shook his head with a wry smile. Seeing this, the mermaid princess said unhappily, "Look at you, you don't seem to like me very much? Do I really annoy you that much?" "Annoy?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. "No man would hate a woman as beautiful as you, but I'm not qualified to think about this now." The mermaid princess breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Why not?" "Because I still have a lot of things to do." Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and said with a faint smile, "I'm going to stay here for a while. Do you welcome me?" "Of course." The mermaid princess smiled sweetly. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Then you go ahead. I'm going to cultivate too. Help me look after the white-eyed wolf and don't let it mess around." The mermaid princess nodded. When Qin Feiyang put on his clothes and entered the castle, Fatso and Lu Hong looked at him strangely. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at them and walked to the iron box without saying a word. He opened the iron book and prepared to copy the battle formula. Suddenly, he looked back at Lu Hong, his eyes flickering. Lu Hong was stunned and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Qin Feiyong smiled and turned to look at the battle formula. Originally, he wanted to try it with Lu Hong and see if he really couldn't be intimate with other women. But he was worried that it would destroy this balanced relationship. After all, Lu Hong was also a woman and had been with him for so long. He didn't want their relationship to become complicated. So after thinking about it, he gave up this idea. But just as he was about to copy the battle formula, a strange emotion suddenly emerged in his heart. In this emotion, there was a trace of disappointment, a trace of hesitation, and a little joy and expectation. This was not his emotion. It was the mermaid princess' inner emotion. Qin Feiyong's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the mermaid princess really had feelings for him? Impossible. I must be thinking too much. He shook his head hard. If the mermaid princess really had feelings for him, she wouldn't have been so calm before. Besides, the mermaid princess had said it herself that she only treated him as a little brother who hadn't grown up yet. However, he discovered helplessly that he couldn't calm down and cultivate at all. This was because the mermaid princess' inner emotions kept entering his heart. He couldn't stop it even if he wanted to. This couldn't go on. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying not to think too much. About an hour later, Qin Feiyong finally calmed down. Rather than saying that he had calmed down, it was more accurate to say that he had gotten used to this feeling. However, no matter what, he could finally cultivate in peace. He opened his eyes and looked at the bottom of the second page. A line of small words immediately entered his vision. Only after entering the War Master realm could he open the third page. War Master, it won't be long. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He extended his index finger and pressed his fingertip on the first stroke of the battle formula. A wave of flaming battle chi surged into it. This was the battle chi of the 9-leaf fire lotus. The battle formula had a total of 9 strokes. Each stroke required a huge amount of battle chi. It could be said that it was dozens of times more than the return formula. However, he wondered if it would be like the return formula where his cultivation base would increase by a realm after successfully copying a stroke. Less than 100 breaths. The flaming battle chi in Qin Feiyong's sea of chi was almost depleted. This is too fast. He frowned. He mobilized the crimson sword chi and continued to copy. Less than 100 breaths. The crimson sword chi was depleted as well. He switched to the purple gold dragon chi again, but it only lasted for about 100 breaths. Gasp! Qin Feiyong couldn't help but gasp. How many battle chi pills would this require? He looked for Lu Hong and asked for all the battle chi pills. There were a total of 130,000 pills. Although they couldn't compare to a supreme-grade battle chi pill, there was nothing he could do now. Without the cauldron, Qin Feiyong couldn't refine them. He could only make do with them. Next, Qin Feiyong refined the battle chi pills as he focused on copying. Occasionally, he would be called out by the mermaid princess to walk around and relax. Of course, this was the mermaid emperor's idea. It was for the two of them to spend more time together and develop feelings for each other as soon as possible. Fatso and Lu Hong, on the other hand, paid no attention to what was happening outside. They cultivated diligently in seclusion. Their cultivation bases were improving day by day. As for the Wolf King, it spent its days in Undersea City, mingling with the merfolk. However, even though it was wandering around, its strength was improving. This was because Qin Feiyong had given it half of the battle chi pills. He kept the pills in a universe bag and hung it around its neck like candy. It would eat one whenever it thought of it. There was another use for the universe bag. It could store treasures. Chapter 289. As for the Mermaid Clan. With the recovery of the Mermaid Emperor's strength, the Black-Winged Guard and the White-Winged Guard did not dare to act rashly. Ever since the Black-Winged King and the White-Winged Guard were humiliated by Qin Feiyong in the sacred ground, they had not appeared in front of anyone. It was said that they were in seclusion. But no one knew the actual situation. And their attempt to force him to abdicate had also become a farce. Time passed. A month passed. Bang! The first stroke of the battle word art was finally completed. His fighting spirit soared into the sky. Moreover, Qin Feiyong's cultivation also broke through. 2-star Battle King. It can increase my cultivation. At this rate, when I master the battle word art, it will be the day I break through to the War Emperor. He was rather excited. Because in this way, he did not have to cultivate separately. He only had to focus on copying the battle word art. However, the consumption of battle chi pills made his heart ache. In a month, he had consumed 30,000 battle chi pills. There were only 130,000 battle chi pills in total. He gave half to Wolf King, leaving more than 60,000. Now that he had consumed another 30,000, there were only 30,000 left. It was probably not enough for him to copy the second stroke. True enough. After the second month, he was still close to successfully copying the second stroke. Qin Feiyong had no choice but to close the iron book. It was urgent to find the pill furnace. He turned to look at Fatso and the white-winged guard. In the past 2 months, the two of them had worked really hard and had not rested. This kind of effort was also exchanged for a huge harvest. In almost a month, they could break through a small realm. Now, Lu Hong was an 8-star martial ancestor. Fatso was also a 7-star martial ancestor. If this speed was spread out, who knew how many martial arts geniuses would be angered to death? But compared to Qin Feiyong, he was slightly inferior. This was because when he was in the martial ancestor, he could break through a small realm in 10 days to half a month. It seems that in less than a year, both of them will be able to step into the Battle King realm. Qin Feiyong whispered with a smile on his face. The stronger the two of them were, the more help they would be to him. Shua! With a thought, he appeared in the palace. Greetings, Sir Qin. The two black-winged guards guarding the door immediately ran in and bowed. After the incident 2 months ago, both the black-winged guard and the white-winged guard were now in awe of Qin Feiyong. Where's the princess? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. The princess is taking a walk in the garden outside. Do you want us to take you there? The two of them asked. Take a walk? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He walked out of the palace and stood on the steps in front of the door, looking forward. Dozens of meters away, there was a garden that was about 1,000 feet wide. In the garden, coral stood in great numbers and all kinds of underwater plants formed a beautiful scenery. On a small path, a blonde woman was walking slowly with her head lowered, as if she was thinking about something. That's right. The mermaid princess was walking. Her golden fishtail and wings had disappeared. What replaced it was a pair of long legs, slender and tall. She was wearing a light golden chiffon dress, which made her look incomparably luxurious. Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed deeply and walked towards the mermaid princess. After spending some time together, he had already discovered that the mermaid princess had indeed developed a good impression of him. Those 2 long legs were undoubtedly the best proof. Qin Feiyong quietly walked up and patted her shoulder lightly. Ah! The mermaid princess was shocked. She turned around and saw that it was Qin Feiyong. She said angrily, "Why are you walking so quietly? You'll scare me to death." Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. You're too engrossed in your thoughts. Tell me, what are you thinking about? The mermaid princess immediately looked away in a panic. Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed inwardly. With the concentric knot, he and the mermaid princess's hearts were connected. How could he not know what she was thinking? However, there were some things that even if both sides knew in their hearts, they could not point it out. After calming himself down, Qin Feiyong asked, Princess, do you know where to find a pill furnace? Pill furnace? The mermaid princess was stunned and asked suspiciously, as an alchemist, shouldn't you carry one with you? I originally had one, but when I was refining the prolonging life pill, it accidentally exploded. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. It was embarrassing to talk about a furnace explosion. So that's how it is. In these years, many people have died in the sea of despair. We have also picked up many Chenkuan bags. Let's go, I'll take you to see father. Maybe there will be a pill furnace in the treasury. The mermaid princess naturally grabbed his hand and walked towards a magnificent hall. Sigh. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and looked at the mermaid princess's hand that was grabbing his hand. He could not help but sigh inwardly again. A moment later, the two walked into the palace. The mermaid emperor was cultivating. When he sensed someone coming in, he opened his eyes and saw Qin Feiyong and the mermaid princess coming in hand. His face was full of smiles. This meant that the relationship between the two had warmed up. It would not be long before he would have a son-in-law. Although Qin Feiyong was still young, he was handsome and dignified. Most importantly, he was mature and steady. His daughter was also well-educated and a national beauty. When the two of them stood together, they were simply a match made in heaven. The more the Mermaid Emperor looked at them, the more satisfied he was. Qin Feiyong naturally retracted his hand and cupped his hands. "Greetings, Senior." The Mermaid Emperor smiled and said, "Don't call me Senior. It sounds too distant. Call me Uncle." Qin Feiyong was stunned and nodded. "Yes, Uncle." The Mermaid Emperor chuckled. "That's right. Why are you looking for me?" The Mermaid Princess smiled and said, "Father, Qin Feiyong needs an alchemy furnace. Do we have it in our treasury?" An alchemy furnace. The Mermaid Emperor lowered his head and pondered for a moment before shaking his head. "I can tell you with certainty that we don't have one." "Then what should we do?" The Mermaid Princess looked anxiously at Qin Feiyong. "No hurry." Qin Feiyong smiled. The Mermaid Emperor said, "Indeed, there's no hurry. Look at you. Ever since that incident, you've been cultivating all day and haven't spent time with my daughter." Qin Feiyong was stunned. Was he blaming him for neglecting the Mermaid Princess? The Mermaid Princess said angrily, "Father, what are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense." "Am I talking nonsense? You two should spend more time together and talk more. How about this? There's nothing fun at the bottom of the sea. You two can go outside." The Mermaid Emperor smiled. "Really?" The Mermaid Princess was overjoyed. "Of course." The Mermaid Emperor nodded and continued, "However, you can't leave the Sea of Despair." "Okay." The Mermaid Princess was overjoyed. She grabbed Qin Feiyong and ran outside. Let them go out for a walk. Their relationship will definitely warm up quickly. Why am I so smart? A smug smile appeared on the Mermaid Emperor's face. After leaving the palace, the Mermaid Princess pulled Qin Feiyong and swam toward the surface of the sea. "Princess, can you slow down a little?" Qin Feiyong was helpless. "You don't know. Ever since I was born, Father has never allowed me to go out. Every time I sneak out, I'll be scolded by him when I come back. I especially like the sun. It makes people feel warm," the Mermaid Princess said. She was like a canary that had just escaped from its cage, jumping and laughing happily. "I especially like the sun," Qin Feiyong murmured. For the Mermaid Princess who lived at the bottom of the sea all year round, it was indeed an extravagant wish to see the sun. The Mermaid Princess was not only beautiful, but her laughter was also very infectious. Qin Feiyong's mood also gradually relaxed. He might as well put down everything and accompany her to walk around. At the same time, he could also relax. Ever since he was expelled from the capital, he had been living under great pressure every day. Every step he took was like walking on thin ice. He was afraid that if he was not careful, he would fall into an irrecoverable situation. Especially when he entered the state capital. He was afraid that the pressure he would face would be even greater. Therefore, before entering the state capital, it was indeed necessary to relax and face the unknown with a new state of mind. The sun hung high in the sky. The sunlight spread down, making the calm surface of the Sea of Despair seem to be plated with a faint layer of gold leaf. Bang! A group of sea beasts suddenly rushed out of the sea. There was a huge Neptune crocodile. There was a sea python that was dozens of meters long. There was also a huge sawtooth turtle, a tiger king shark, and a Neptune lion. There was also a snow-white and extraordinary seahorse. If someone was here at this moment, their jaw would definitely drop. Why did so many sea beasts appear all of a sudden? And if one looked carefully, they would be shocked to find that there was a man and a woman sitting on the backs of two seahorses. And those sea beasts were all led by them. The man and woman were none other than Qin Feiyong and the Mermaid Princess. Although the sea beasts of the Sea of Despair were very ferocious, they were very docile in front of the Mermaid Princess. What a warm sunlight! The seahorse stood on the surface of the sea. The surrounding sea beasts jumped up and down in joy. The Mermaid Princess rode on the back of the seahorse and looked up at the sun, her beautiful eyes slightly narrowed. Her golden wavy hair shone dazzlingly under the sunlight. She had a look of enjoyment and intoxication. Her light golden tulle dress fluttered gently in the wind. The white jade-like skin under the dress was faintly discernible and hazy. At this moment, She was like a painting fairy bathed in the sunlight, exceptionally charming. Unknowingly, Qin Feiyong was stunned. There was even an inexplicable restlessness in the depths of his heart. "Do you think I'm very beautiful?" The mermaid princess noticed his strangeness and her red lips curled up slightly. She was a little proud in her heart. Ahem. Qin Feiyong coughed a few times and nodded. "You're indeed very beautiful. But if you're not wearing anything like last time, then you'd be even more beautiful." "Qin Feiyong, I didn't expect you to be a pervert too. Take this." The mermaid princess flew into a rage out of humiliation. She patted the seahorse's back and it immediately rushed towards Qin Feiyong. "Anyway, there are no outsiders here. We'll get married sooner or later. Why don't you let me feast my eyes now?" "Haha, let's go." Qin Feiyong laughed and patted the seahorse's back. The seahorse under him immediately ran wildly on the surface of the sea. "Pervert, shameless, stop right there. Catch me if you can." The two of them chased after each other. Countless sea beasts surrounded them like stars surrounding the moon. They gradually disappeared into the horizon. Chapter 290. In the blink of an eye. 4 months passed. In these 4 months, Qin Feiyong followed the mermaid princess to many places. The entire Sea of Despair, whether it was on the sea or under the sea, had left their footprints. There were thrilling encounters. There were also battles. There were also huge storms. There was even one time when a huge tornado appeared, and the two of them and the sea beasts were almost swept away. But more than that, there was laughter. Qin Feiyong's mood was unprecedentedly relaxed. It could be said that these 5 months of consolidation were very helpful for his future growth. The feelings in the mermaid princess's heart were also getting deeper and deeper. In the beginning, she would hide it, but later, she would occasionally reveal her deep love. To be honest, in the face of such a beautiful and kind woman, it would be a lie to say that he was not moved. If it wasn't for the fact that he still had so many things to do, Qin Feiyong would really fall in love with this woman and even stay for her. But there were some things that he had no choice about. There were some feelings that he had to bury in his heart. On this day, the 4-month-long trip was finally over. Because Fatso and Lu Hong had reached the critical moment of breaking through to the War King realm. Back at the Undersea City, Qin Feiyong and the mermaid princess went directly to the Mermaid Emperor's palace. The Mermaid Emperor glanced at the two and said with a smile, "You're back. It seems that you two have had a lot of fun outside these 4 months." The mermaid princess said, "Father, it's really interesting outside. If you have time, you should go out more often. I'm old, I can't walk anymore. I'm not like you young people who are so energetic. How is it? When are you going to get married?" The mermaid emperor looked at the two with a smile. The mermaid princess's delicate body trembled, and she lowered her head in silence. Because on the way back, Qin Feiyong had already told her that he would leave today. The mermaid emperor frowned, looked at Qin Feiyong, and said in a deep voice, "Did you bully my daughter when I wasn't around?" The mermaid princess hurriedly said, "Father, don't misunderstand. He didn't bully me." "Then why are you so unhappy?" The mermaid emperor was puzzled. The mermaid princess hesitated for a moment and sighed faintly. "It's better to let Qin Feiyong tell you personally." The mermaid emperor controlled his temper and said, "Qin Feiyong, tell me what happened." Qin Feiyong said, "I won't hide it from Uncle. I'll be leaving the Sea of Despair soon." "What?" The mermaid emperor suddenly stood up and said angrily, "Then what about my daughter?" "Uncle, please calm down. To be honest, any man who sees the princess will like her, including me. But everyone has their own difficulties, and I am no exception. So please forgive me, Uncle. Princess, I can only apologize." Qin Feiyong bowed and said. The mermaid emperor said, "If you have any difficulties, you can tell me. I can help you." Qin Feiyong remained silent. "Speak." The mermaid emperor said angrily. The mermaid princess said anxiously, "Father, don't force him. Just let him go. If we are fated to meet again, we will definitely meet again." The mermaid emperor said, "You silly child, aren't you afraid that this farewell will be forever? That can only mean that we are not fated to be together." The mermaid princess smiled, but it was very forced. Sigh. The mermaid emperor glanced at the two of them, and after a long while he sighed, Forget it, forget it. You guys can do as you see fit. Thank you, Uncle. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands. Next, with the help of the Mermaid Emperor, Fatso and Lu Hong successfully opened the third level of the Gate of Potential. Next, the two of them headed to the sacred ground. Qin Feiyong took out the last potential pill and handed it to the Mermaid Princess, smiling. I only have one potential pill left. I hope you don't mind. If he had the alchemy furnace, he could still refine it. Unfortunately, the alchemy furnace had exploded, and he could only give her one. The Mermaid Princess shook her head and said, I don't have any enemies here, so I don't need the potential pill. You should keep it. After all, you are wandering outside. What a considerate girl. Little Qin Zi, you might as well marry her. Otherwise, if she is kidnapped by another man in the future, it will be too late for you to regret it. The Wolf King walked in leisurely and grinned at Qin Feiyong. Shut up. Qin Feiyong glared at it and stuffed the potential pill into the hands of the Mermaid Princess. He also told her that she could only take it when she broke through to the 9-star Battle King. The Mermaid Emperor frowned and said, Qin Feiyong, I don't care what difficulties you have. In the future, you will come back and marry my daughter. Father, are you afraid that your daughter won't be able to marry? He is not the only man in the world. The Mermaid Princess pouted and said in a huff. That's right. With my daughter's beauty, I don't know how many people will fight to marry her. The Mermaid Emperor glanced at Qin Feiyong indifferently and said proudly. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. Boss, we are back. Fatso and Lu Hong ran into the main hall with a trace of excitement on their faces. Did you get something? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Hee. Fatty let out a sinister laugh. With a whoosh, 2 black wings sprouted from his back. At the same time, 2 white wings also appeared on Lu Hong's back. How is this possible? Qin Feiyong and Wolf King were dumbfounded. The Mermaid Emperor and his daughter were also in disbelief. How could someone who was not a mermaid obtain the inheritance of the first black-winged king and the first white-winged king? Lu Hong smiled and said, We also feel like we are dreaming. Originally they didn't have much hope, but they didn't expect that the result would really surprise them. The Mermaid Emperor asked, Is it the same for the War Soul? Lu Hong shook her head and said, The War Soul is different. We only have an extra pair of wings, but the War Soul is not passed down. Qin Feiyong said, Then what is your War Soul? Our War Soul is also related to the statue of the first emperor. Let's keep it a secret for now. Fatso laughed. Lu Hong was all smiles, but she didn't show any signs of speaking. I can understand Fatso's reaction, but Lu Hong, how did you become like this? It seems that you have been led astray by the white-eyed wolf and Fatso. Qin Feiyong's face was filled with displeasure. Ha! Lu Hong smiled but did not say anything. Fine, you guys keep pretending to be mysterious. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at the two. To be honest, he was really curious. If it was related to the first emperor, then it must be an incredible war soul. Wolf King glanced at the Mermaid Princess and urged. Okay, let's go, or a certain little girl will cry. You are the one who will cry. The Mermaid Princess glared at him, but her eyes were indeed beginning to moisten. Qin Feiyong looked at her deeply and said, Uncle Princess, we will meet again if fate wills it. The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand impatiently and said, Get out, don't look annoying. Let me see you off. The Mermaid Princess smiled. Qin Feiyong nodded. The group walked out of the hall and swam towards the sea. Sigh. What should go will go in the end. It's just that I pity my obedient daughter. The Mermaid Emperor sighed deeply, his face full of melancholy. On the sea, the Mermaid Princess stood on the head of a Neptune crocodile. Qin Feiyong, Fatso, and Lu Hong each sat on the back of a seahorse. As for the Wolf King, he temporarily went to the castle. The few of them did not speak, and the place fell into a dead silence. In the end, it was Qin Feiyong who broke the silence and said with a smile, Princess, please go back. I can hug you. The Mermaid Princess hesitated. Qin Feiyong was silent for a while, jumped down from the back of the seahorse and landed on the head of the Neptune crocodile. He stretched out his hands and took the Mermaid Princess into his arms. At this moment, the tears in the Mermaid Princess' eyes finally couldn't be controlled and burst out. Don't cry, I'm not worth your tears. Qin Feiyong was a little sad in his heart. The mermaid princess cried even more fiercely. Her pitiful appearance made one's heart ache. Fatso and Lu Hong looked at each other with a look of pity. They were not blind. They could see that Qin Feiyong also liked the mermaid princess very much, but it was a pity that he buried it in his heart. Time passed breath by breath. Qin Feiyong gently pushed away the woman in his arms and whispered, "I really should go." The mermaid princess asked, "You will come back, right?" Qin Feiyong hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I'm sorry." He didn't know if he could survive in the end, so he didn't dare to make any promises. He could only say sorry. Finished. He resolutely turned around, jumped on the back of the seahorse and shouted, "Let's go." The 3 seahorses immediately stepped forward and broke through the waves. The mermaid princess's delicate body trembled, and her face was pale. Seeing that Qin Feiyong was about to disappear, she suddenly raised her head and shouted, "Qin Feiyong, I don't want to be sorry. I want you to live well. I will wait for you, even if it is 10,000 years. Her voice reverberated in the sky above the sea, carrying a deep sense of love and reluctance. Qin Feiyong heard it. The words "I will wait for you, even if it is 10,000 years" almost broke the line of defense in his heart. His 7-foot body trembled slightly. But he didn't look back and quickly disappeared from the sight of the mermaid princess. The mermaid princess looked in that direction in a daze. Until the sun set. Until night fell. Until the stars twinkled in the middle of the night, she didn't leave. "Child, let's go back." The mermaid emperor floated to the surface and looked at his haggard daughter with heartache. He didn't expect his daughter to have such deep feelings for him. The mermaid princess murmured, "Father, how did you feel when you fell in love with Mother back then?" When 2 people fall in love, they will experience many things, ups and downs, life and death. Your path has just begun. And your path will be more difficult than anyone else's. Because Qin Feiyong has too much on his shoulders. He is destined to have an extraordinary life. If you really like him, you have to be strong and keep going. The mermaid emperor stood beside the mermaid princess and looked up at the bright starry sky with a smile. "I understand. I have to work hard to cultivate. I won't be very strong, but at least I can help him when he is in danger." The mermaid princess clenched her jade-like hands, and her eyes were filled with determination. "What a silly child." The mermaid emperor sighed and said with a smile, "Let's go back with father. Father will teach you those battle arts." "Okay." The mermaid princess nodded and finally looked away. Splash! The Neptune crocodile carried the father and daughter and sank to the bottom of the sea. This place quickly returned to peace. Chapter 291. On the surface of the sea in the middle of the night, the 3 seahorses were like shooting stars. They were as fast as lightning, stirring up huge waves behind them. Fatso asked, "Boss, according to the seahorse's speed, how long will it take for us to leave the Sea of Despair?" "About half a month." Qin Feiyong said. "I wonder if the black-winged king and the white-winged king will come out and cause trouble." There was a trace of worry on Lu Hong's face. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and shook his head. "No, the mermaid emperor will definitely keep an eye on them. This father and daughter pair are really good to you. Boss, can you tell us what difficulties you have?" Fatso looked at him suspiciously. After a moment of silence, Qin Feiyong said, "I can only tell you that my enemies are enough to make anyone afraid." The 2 looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. Lu Hong said in realization, "So you're afraid of implicating the mermaid clan?" "That's not right, boss. You're afraid of implicating them, but aren't you afraid of implicating us?" "Why does Fat Lord feel like we've boarded your pirate ship?" Fatso said unhappily. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "Don't worry. If that day really comes, I'll let you leave in advance." "Leave? Forget it. Fat Lord is not the kind of person who doesn't value loyalty. As long as you're successful, don't forget that Fatso used to accompany you through water and tread on fire." Fatso said with a smile. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. He turned his head and looked at the sea behind him. He could clearly sense the emotions in the mermaid princess' heart. But he had no choice. "Take care," he muttered in his heart and looked back into the distance. That deep gaze seemed to be able to pierce through time and space and see the distant imperial capital. "Mother, I'm almost at the state capital. I'm just one step away from returning to the imperial capital. You must wait for me. Time was like sand between fingers. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Early in the morning, a long coastline finally entered the sight of the three of them. Behind the coastline was a vast mountain range. The peaks were stacked on top of each other, looking majestic and majestic. There were no signs of humans, only the roars of beasts. A moment later, the three seahorses stopped by the sea. Qin Feiyong and the other two jumped down. The moment their feet touched the ground, the three of them felt as if they were in a dream. Now that they were awake, Qin Feiyong turned around and looked at the three seahorses. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Many thanks for sending me off. However, could you please wait here for a while longer?" The three seahorses looked. And at most. The three seahorses nodded. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands. The three seahorses turned around and quickly sank into the sea. Qin Feiyong retracted his gaze and said to Fatso, "Go and check out the situation. See how strong the beasts in the mountain range are." Fatso's face turned pale. He said angrily, "Boss, you're too unrighteous. You're sending Fat Lord to his death, you know? Don't you have wings?" Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. "That's right. Grandpa Fatty can also fly now." Fatso patted his head and two black wings appeared. "Hee, let's go." He roared in high spirits and spread his wings. He turned into a black stream of light and rushed into the sky. Looking at that arrogant guy, Qin Feiyong was envious. Why not give him a pair of wings? He turned to look at Lu Hong and asked curiously, "What are your battle souls?" Lu Hong smiled and said, "I can only tell you that it's related to dragons." Dragons! Qin Feiyong was shocked. Whoosh! Fatso swooped down and said in a deep voice, "Boss, this mountain range is too big. I'm afraid we won't be able to get out for a while." Qin Feiyong asked, "What about the strength of the beasts?" Fatso said, "Very strong. Just within a few thousand meters, Fat Lord could sense more than a dozen powerful auras. They are not weaker than the lion-head eagle." Qin Feiyong's heart sank to the bottom. There were probably more beasts in this mountain range that surpassed the War Emperor. Lu Hong said, "Fatso and I have wings. As long as we keep a low profile, it shouldn't be a problem for us to pass through the mountain range." "But you," at this point, her beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, she looked at Fatso and laughed. "Why don't you carry Qin Feiyong and fly over?" Fatso immediately stared at him and said, "What kind of joke is this? Can't you see that Fat Lord is a heavyweight?" Lu Hong said angrily, "You can't possibly let me, a woman, carry him, right?" Fatso chuckled. "It doesn't matter, we don't treat you as a woman anyway, we're brothers." Scram. Lu Hong's face darkened. Truly, nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. All right, you guys can't fly either, because at high altitudes, you'll be a bigger target." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and sent the two of them to the castle. At the same time, he brought out Wolf King. Next, Qin Feiyong looked around and memorized the coordinates of this place. This was because only by knowing the coordinates could one use the teleportation gate to directly teleport over. "Let's go." After memorizing the coordinates, he let out a long sigh, waved his hand, and quietly sneaked into the mountain range with Wolf King. Wolf King had a keen sense of smell. If they encountered a powerful beast, they would take a detour. If they encountered a weaker beast, they would directly start fighting. If they were discovered by a powerful beast, they would hide in the castle. They walked and stopped along the way. Until half a month later, a man and a wolf were still in the mountain range. "How big is this place?" Qin Feiyong and the Wolf King stood side by side on a short mountain. Both of them were incomparably furious as they swept their eyes over the boundless wilderness before them. They thought that half a month was enough to get out. But now, they couldn't even see the shadow of the edge of the mountain range. "Quickly ask Ren Girl, what is this damn place?" Wolf King said. Qin Feiyong nodded, took out the image crystal, and quickly activated it. Not long after, a glamorous figure appeared. Ren Wushuang asked, "Feiyong, why are you looking for me?" "Sister, we have left the Sea of Despair, but we are trapped in a mountain range." Qin Feiyong immediately told Ren Wushuang the details of the mountain range. After pondering for a moment, Ren Wushuang said, "If I remember correctly, that should be the Quiescence mountain range." Quiescence Mountain Range? The man and the wolf's eyes darkened. From the name, they knew that it was not a good place. The Quiescence Mountain Range is very dangerous. It can even be said that it is the headquarters of the beasts in our spiritual state. To be honest, even my grandfather doesn't dare to set foot in it easily. With your current speed and ability, you probably won't be able to get out in 8 to 10 years. Ren Wuxuang said. What? The man and the wolf looked at each other. Even the mansion master didn't dare to set foot in it? Did this Wang Hong ask them to come here to die? They couldn't afford to wait 8 to 10 years. Ren Wuxuang said, Give me your coordinates, I'll come and pick you up now. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, This isn't good. How are we going to explain to Wang Hong? Ignore him. He's clearly making things difficult for you. If he dares to blame you, I'll back you up. Ren Wuxuang said. It's good to have an awesome sister. Qin Feiyang chuckled and gave the coordinates to Ren Wuxuang. Although he also wanted to rely on his own efforts to get out of the Quiescence Mountain Range, time didn't allow it. More importantly, he didn't have an alchemy furnace and couldn't refine battle chi pills. Without battle chi pills, he didn't know how long it would take to master the battle formula and step into the battle emperor realm by absorbing the essence of heaven and earth. Swoosh! In less than 10 breaths. In the void in front of him, a beautiful figure appeared out of thin air. It was Ren Wuxuang. This time, it wasn't an illusion, but a real person. Wolf King waved his claws and laughed. Little girl Ren, long time no see, did you miss your brother? Ren Wuxuang rolled his eyes. Seeing that the man and the wolf were in a rather sorry state, he laughed. Thank you for your hard work, I will bring you to the city now. The city! Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. Ren Wuxuang waved his hand, opened a teleportation gate, and laughed. Quickly follow me. Finished. She took the lead and walked in. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look at Wolf King, and warned. Don't tell anyone about the Merfolk clan. I know. Wolf King waved his claws impatiently, and ran into the teleportation gate like a wisp of smoke. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look in the direction of the Sea of Despair, sighed softly, and stepped into the teleportation gate. Soon, 2 people and a wolf descended in front of a single courtyard. The courtyard was very large, covering an area of hundreds of meters. In the deepest part, there was a 2-story pavilion, with carved beams and painted pillars, and an ancient style. The rest of the place was a garden. The small trees were verdant, and hundreds of flowers were blooming. An intoxicating fragrance filled the air. There was a secluded path that extended in all directions. There was also a small stream that meandered around. The water of the stream was so clear that one could see the bottom. Colorful fish were playing happily in the water. Beside the stream, there were several pavilions. It could be said that the scenery here was pleasant. Ren Wuxuang laughed. This is my residence, far away from the bustling city, very quiet, very suitable for secluded cultivation. Wolf King said. So, brother can also live here in the future? Of course. Ren Wuxuang smiled and said. After these few months of traveling, you should be tired. Go and have a good rest first. I will inform grandfather. Wait. Qin Feiyang was secretly shocked and hurriedly called out to her. What is it? Ren Wuxuang was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, I am only a 2-star battle king now. I am not qualified to meet the mansion master. Let's talk about it later. 2-star battle king? Ren Wuxuang was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. It had only been 8 months, and his cultivation had reached 2-star battle king. This speed was also shocking, right? It seemed that he had to work harder. Otherwise, it would not be long before this cheap brother caught up with him. After coming back to his senses, Ren Wuxuang laughed. We are already family, what qualifications are there to talk about? Moreover, my grandfather has always been interested in you. I am not interested in him. Qin Feiyang exclaimed in his heart and smiled. Sister, actually, I am not ready. After all, he is a big shot. Others dream of meeting my grandfather, but you are making all kinds of excuses. I really don't know what is going on in your head. All right, up to you. Ren Wuxuang rolled her eyes at him and led the man and the wolf to the pavilion. Qin Feiyang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Shuang, why didn't you inform grandfather that an important guest is coming? However, at this moment, an old voice suddenly sounded. Qin Feiyong's heart was in his throat in an instant. Chapter 292. Whoosh. A weather-beaten old man instantly descended in the sky above the courtyard. He was wearing a long white robe, with white hair and a white beard, but his eyes were shining. His old body was straight like an iron pine. As soon as he saw this person, Qin Feiyong's head exploded. Back then in the capital, he had indeed seen this person once. He remembered that it was when he was 9 years old. The prefecture lords of the 9 states went to the capital to meet the emperor. At that time, when the emperor went to meet them, he also brought him along. Therefore, this person had also seen him. He just didn't know if this person could still recognize him after 7 or 8 years. He was extremely nervous. The mansion master came too suddenly, and he was not prepared at all. Although his current appearance and temperament had undergone an earth-shattering change, he still couldn't help but worry. Because if he was recognized, he was afraid that he would not be able to escape today. Wolf King was also extremely nervous. Although it still didn't know the exact situation, it could still make some connections based on Qin Feiyong's one-sided words. After Ran Wushuang noticed the reaction of the man and wolf, he looked up at the old man and said, "Grandpa, why didn't you inform us in advance that you were coming?" There was a hint of reproach in his words. The mansion master said unhappily, "Do I need to inform others when I come to my granddaughter's residence?" Ren Wushuang said unhappily, "You came so suddenly, you will scare them. They shouldn't be so weak." The mansion master was stunned and landed in front of the 2 men and the wolf, sizing up Qin Feiyong and Wolf King. Suddenly, he frowned and fixed his eyes on Qin Feiyong, with a trace of surprise in his old eyes. "Have we been recognized?" Qin Feiyong was shocked and was ready to take Wolf King and hide in the castle at any time. After a torturous wait, the mansion master finally opened his mouth and asked, "Shuang, didn't you say that he was only a martial arts grandmaster?" Phew! Qin Feiyong secretly let out a sigh. It seemed that he hadn't been recognized. Ren Wushuang smiled bitterly. "When I left the county of Swallow, he was indeed only a martial ancestor. I didn't expect him to break through to the 2-star battle monarch so quickly. And this wolf cub." Ran Wushuang glared at Wolf King. During the 6 months in the Merfolk clan, Wolf King had broken through 2 small realms in a row. He was now a 3-star battle king, surpassing Qin Feiyong. If it hadn't been so playful and had cultivated seriously, it probably wouldn't have reached this level. Of course, if Qin Feiyong didn't copy the battle symbol formula, the 60,000 battle chi pills would be enough for him to break through to the 3-star battle king realm, or even the 4-star battle king realm. Not bad, not bad. They are all good seedlings. The mansion lord looked at the man and wolf and nodded with a smile. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and smiled. "Senior, you flatter me. In the entire spiritual state, there has never been a person who became a battle monarch at the age of 16. Even among the 5 Dao geniuses of the same age as you, the strongest is only a 4-star or 5-star martial ancestor. So you are worthy of praise." The mansion lord smiled. "Old man, what's your cultivation base?" Wolf King asked. Qin Feiyong's identity wasn't recognized, so it became a lot bolder. "Old man?" Ren Wushuang was slightly stunned and said angrily, "Wolf cub, don't be rude." Qin Feiyong also fiercely glared at it. The mansion lord was also a little surprised. It was the first time in his life that someone dared to call him old man in front of him. "Hehe. Ran Wushuang is little Qin Zi's sister, and I am little Qin Zi's big brother. We are family. Old man, you don't mind, right?" Wolf King smiled slyly. Qin Feiyong's face twitched. This bastard really knows how to curry favor. The mansion lord looked at it with interest and said, "What if I say that I mind?" Wolf King shrunk its neck and said timidly, "Old man, you won't be so petty, right?" "Haha." The mansion lord laughed and seemed to be quite happy. He said, "When you have the ability to fight with me, you will naturally know my cultivation base." "Humph, what's the big deal?" Wolf King muttered in disdain. The mansion lord ignored it and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Go to the Holy Palace tomorrow, but don't use my name. You have to rely on yourself." "Yes." Qin Feiyong cupped his hands. "Also, only Wang Hong Shuang, and I know about your glorious deeds in the county of Yanv. So, you're just a nameless kid in the spiritual state. I hope that you can continue to keep a low profile." After all, if you are too dazzling, others will be jealous. Also, I will not give you any help, including Xueqi. The mansion lord said. I understand. Qin Feiyong nodded. All right then, I will go to work. You young people have a good chat. With a flash, the mansion lord disappeared without a trace. Phew. At this moment, Qin Feiyong finally heaved a sigh of relief. Ren Wushuang said, Feiyong, you won't blame my grandfather, right? Why should I blame him? He did this for my own good. He doesn't want me to become a flower in a greenhouse, pleasant to the eye but useless. Qin Feiyong smiled. It's good that you think so. Ren Wushuang nodded and smiled. Suddenly, she frowned. No, from what you said, are you talking about me? How would I dare to talk about you? Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. Ren Wushuang dared to enter the ruins alone. No one dared to say that she was a rich young lady. I don't think you dare. Ren Wushuang snorted coldly, turned around and entered the attic. She sat on a chair and said with a smile, Tell me about your experience on the wave. There's nothing much to say. In the desert of death, thanks to a giant python, it sent us to the Sea of Despair. When we arrived at the Sea of Despair, Fatso and Lu Hong activated their battle souls not long after, and they even grew a pair of wings. So they carried me and crossed the Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyong smiled and explained briefly. As for the mermaid clan, he naturally ignored them. Wings? Ren Wushuang was stunned. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and Fatso and Lu Hong both appeared. He smiled faintly and said, Let sister see the world. Puchi. With a thought, a pair of wings appeared. What's going on? Ren Wushuang suddenly stood up and looked at the two of them in shock. Wings could actually grow on a human's body? Wasn't this too unbelievable? Fatso shook his head and smiled narcissistically. Sister Wushuang, how is it? Do you feel that Fat Lord has become more handsome? A row of black lines appeared on Ren Wushuang's forehead. How could such a meatball be considered handsome? What a piece of work. She shook her head helplessly and asked, What battle souls did you activate? She naturally suspected that this strange phenomenon was related to Fatso and Wei Wuyan's battle souls. We're keeping it a secret. Fatso chuckled. Ren Wushuang rolled her eyes. The world was big and there were all kinds of strange things. This sentence was indeed true. Qin Feiyong asked, Sister, where is Yan Nanshan now? Ren Wushuang said, I heard that he and Wei Zhongyang are locked in prison. Why? Do you want to see him? Qin Feiyong nodded. Ren Wushuang smiled and said, Okay, I'll take you there when you've rested. Qin Feiyong said, I want to go now. Now. Ren Wushuang was stunned and nodded. Okay, after all, he's your benefactor. It's good to go see him as soon as possible. She stood up and led Qin Feiyong and the others out of the courtyard quickly. At the same time, she introduced the situation of Shao Prefecture City to Qin Feiyong and the others. The scale of the prefecture city was dozens of times larger than Yen City. Just the residents in the city were estimated to be no less than 100 million. If you add in the floating population that came in and out every day, the number would be even larger. There were also countless large and small families. The entire prefecture city was divided into 5 major districts. They were East City, West City, North City, South City, and Central City. Apart from the Central City, the East City and the other 4 major districts all had independent city lord manors. Each city lord was the right-hand man of the prefecture lord, and was even a super overlord that could cover the sky with one hand. As for the Central City, it was undoubtedly the true state capital. Because the prefecture lord's residence was here. And such an important place like the prison was naturally also in the Central City. Moreover, it was right next to the prefecture lord's residence. Swoosh!